kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Kansas Speedway. The Stacy Strong SNN Cup Series is hitting their stride in the merry, merry month of May, right here in the Jayhawker State. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Kansas City, Kansas, just outside the heart of America. Last week at Dover, Patrick Gitter ended his streak of pole awards, but still captured the checkered flag for his fourth win of the season. Many of our drivers swapped points positions last week after battling at the Monster Mile, but Matt DiCiani and Sean Rogers still controlled the top two spots on the leaderboard. I'm Dave Regal here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and as always, I'm thrilled to be with you every step of the way. From the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And folks, glad to have all of you in with us tonight. Qualifying well underway so far, as we have a bunch of drivers, maybe a couple even not going to make the cut tonight. As we take a peek here at Matt DiCiani, as DiCiani out on his very first qualifying lap. We see a lot of these drivers tonight Trying to take it easy on that first lap, get a lot of heat in these tires. We'll take a look at the race info momentarily, which will give us what our current conditions are here in a foggy evening in Kansas. And folks, like I said, glad to have all of you with us tonight as we get ready to rock and roll here at Kansas Speedway, because this is one of those places that you can't help but kind of get yourself tuned in for. DeCiani goes 15th fastest on his first qualifying lap. As he comes across the start-finish line here in the Tri-Oval, he is going to go up to 10th position. So our points leader, Matt DeCiani, up here in 10th. Randall Watkins out of Miami, Florida, Mr. 305 here in the SNN Cup Series, goes 20th. And Randy Belk here in the 50 machine, he's going to try his hand after Alexander Gangler just went 29th in the number 8 machine out of Big Rock, Illinois. Taking a look at our current conditions here, 67 degrees if you're sitting in the stands. That gives us a little bit of an overcast sky, but the racetrack is still 91 degrees, so things cooling down here as we get ready to roll here in week number 12. And, of course, the point standings are all starting to come together now here in the Stacy Strong Cup Series. Of course, we want to take a peek here at our point standings, as it looks like Dalton Mobley just went 14th fastest, Ron Fitting 17th. Matt DeCiani leading our point standings as Sean Rogers now sits P2. They both sit there fairly comfortably. As we look through the rest of these points, looks like Patrick Gitter just leapfrogged Nolan Hodgson. They kind of swapped spots last week after Dover. Everybody else pretty much the same through Neil Pearson, who jumped up 2 positions to now be tied with Mike Witt there for 9th position. So obviously things starting to get a little dicey here in the middle of what will be our playoff standings. Of course, the top 16 going to move on to the playoffs here in 2024. Deeper through the field, though, we're starting to see some of those big names pop up as we get moving on. We look a little deeper here. Eric Papineau starting to make his charge forward, as well as Chris Claude in 13th. Now, R.J. Root, who doesn't have a whole lot of races under his belt for the season this year, currently sitting in 20th. He's a free agent this season, so that kind of leaves him out there almost like an assassin, because he can go out and, absolutely hammer some of this field here in the Stacy Strong Cup Series. We get a little deeper. We see some big names. Mike McConville missed last week at Dover, so that's going to cost him for sure as we work our way through the standings. Of course, this is also going to have some implications on the point standings for the team championships. TCSP E10 Esports still sits with a controlling lead over 4 Wide Motorsports by nearly 430 points. In fact, it's 429 points from first to second here in the team standings. Joe Gibbs Racing finally starting to wake up on the season now, as they're going to start hunting for 4 Wide Motorsports on the racetrack. So basically a lot of these drivers are going to be out there hunting for heads as we get deeper in. We take a look here at Mark Johnston in the number 80 machine out of Newell, North Carolina. And Mark had a great run last week. He's trying to do it again now, as he's going to be the 36th driver. John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania. Rich Jett out of Schwanksville, Pennsylvania. Steve Herring and Andrew Deemer still have yet to go out and lay qualifying laps down. Of course, the team charters are going to lock some of these drivers in as we get ready to rock and roll here. Bobby Anderson currently sitting on top of the pylon tonight for scoring. Let's see if we can get a hold of old Bobby as we try to dial him up here on the radio. Hey, Bobby, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? Hey, Bobby, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? And, of course, our pole sitter not available tonight. That's a shame, because he had an absolutely blistering run. We'll get a hold of Brian Tarnowski, who also was missing a couple of weeks ago. Hey, Brian, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, bud. What's going on?
Buddy, listen, here we are in week number 12. I mean, Waukesha's got to be cheering you on as you sit 29th on the pole tonight, or on the timing line tonight. What's going to be the strategy here at Kansas after you missed a week?
Keep the fenders on it, pretty much. I know I can run long. If we got a lot of long runs, I should be okay, saving tires and such. But just gonna try to stay out of the mess, hopefully, if there is any.
Yeah, let's hope for no mess, no muss, no fuss, as they say. I mean, quite frankly, here in this league, we try to pride ourselves on, safe driving and clean driving, and that's something that I know that every league is always fighting with. But tonight, I think we may have one of those races where we start to see maybe 2 or 3 drivers pull away, and the rest of you are all back there fighting. When you're trying to avoid, how much do you try to leave any room between you and the driver in front of you just in case, or do you keep it tight until you see something developing in front of you?
I try to do the patience thing. If I know I'm not going to pass them, I'm going to give them a little room. But if I think I have an opening, obviously I'll jump up there and try to get around them. But I try to stay patient, and hopefully I can, we all can keep it clean.
All right, my man. Well, listen, I appreciate you. I'm going to get you back up here. You're in MPG racing, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Listen, good luck tonight.
All right.
That, of course, the voice of Brian Tarnowski, whose wife is who we've named this league for. And he's been part of this league now for the last several years, and I cannot name a better person to speak with or to hang out with, that's for sure. We're going to get a hold of Bennett Allen here in the number 15 out of the Joe Gibbs Racing Stable. Hey, Bennett, it's Dave. You got me?
What's going on, Dave?
Man, I don't know. You tell me what's going on because, I mean, you've had some interesting weeks here where, you started charging to the front and then all of a sudden it's like the wheels came off of it. What's going to be your strategy tonight?
I'm just kind of take my time. I've done a lot more practice this week than I have previous and running the A car, and NIS and A opens. And, my iRating is high enough to where I can run with top split every once in a while on A opens. So I have a general idea of how much speed's in the car and what I need to do to save tires. So, it's a long race, 267 laps, and I'm just going to try to take care of my rears and my right front, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think I'm going to be super duper aggressive, maybe a little bit early, but I just want to try to manage and practice managing tire because I need to get better at that.
Yeah, tire management going to be a huge factor tonight here at Kansas because we've got a long race ahead of us, 267 laps the scheduled distance. Stage 1 going to end at lap 80. Stage 2 going to end at 165. Now, I see that there's 9 total tire sets, so you're going to be laying 8, starting 9. And now that puts your pit window somewhere in that 40 to 55 laps. How far are you able to take that on fuel?
Probably around 55 to 60, right around there. It really depends what kind of setup you got. We got a Outlier Speeds company has a 4th gear set for the week. That runs pretty good, even in 5th gear. So, I might just try to split it. Definitely in the next gen, you kind of want to pit as late as you can, pass everybody that pitted early. So I'll figure out strategy on the fly. But, obviously, no cautions. We'll split stages and go on from there. But, yeah.
All right, my man. Well, listen, good luck tonight as you get ready to rock and roll. Warm-up underway. I'm sure we're going to see you here. I know we'll be talking about you, that's for sure. So good luck, brother.
Appreciate it, Dave.
And last but not least, we want to take a quick chat here with our points leader, Matt DeCiani. Hey, Matt, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, Matt, here we are at Kansas Speedway. Now, last week at Dover, not a bad finish, and you managed to stay up there, ahead of Patrick Gitter on the point standings. But what's going to be strategy tonight as you Chicagoan decide to come on down south?
Just take care of the car, take care of the tires. We're got a long run car this week, so we're not great on the short run. But this weather, this overcast conditions, I don't know, it's kind of throwing us a curveball. We're gonna kind of decide here in the next few minutes what we're gonna run. But yeah, just take care of the car and just make it to stage 3 and see where we're at.
Yeah, speaking of weather conditions, I'm looking at it now. I mean, it's overcast, but from our vantage point here in the broadcast booth, it almost looks foggy. So it's going to be kind of an interesting, it really does. As we look down, it's like there's maybe it's just Kansas City barbecue smoke that's wafting over the racetrack. That's the only thing I can think.
Yeah, it could be, but yeah, no, it's definitely a little foggy from the cockpit. So I don't know, kind of like the real life here because it was pretty rainy there earlier. So it's kind of neat to replicate that.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we will see you, I'm sure, on the other side tonight.
All right, sounds good. Take care, guys. TCSB yet. Thank you.
That, of course, the voice of our points leader, Matt DiCiani, who comes out of the TCSB E10 Esports stable. As we get ready to rock and roll, we're taking a look here at Bennett Allen, who we just spoke with a moment ago in our warm-up segment. Here he is leading the way with a 30.19 second lap. Cody McCorkle in fourth position on the timing line. Let's take a quick peek at our qualifying results as we go up on here into the blimp. Bobby Anderson's going to go fastest tonight with Dylan Banks alongside of him on the front row. Matt Long and Neil Pearson third and fourth. Paul Hill and Josh Berry, but I'm not sure it's that Josh Berry because this one is supposedly Canadian. One of our neighbors from the north, Patrick Gitter, in seventh. I see some other hot names here on the list. Chris Davis, Matt DiCiani, who we just talked to, went 12th fastest. Michael Witt in 14th. Matt Gaskins in 15th, but Kavaja Holt, that's going to be a driver that I'm always keeping my eye on. Kavaja may start mid-pack, rear-pack, and wind up, in that top 10, top 15 later on in the race, and he will be challenging at some point, for that top 15, top 10 spot. We see Matt Mackin back in 20th position, Randall Watkins in 25th, so a lot of these drivers that we usually see toward the front after qualifying starting closer to the rear, so maybe they know something that we don't up here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and I want to welcome everybody in this evening to the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth here on Sim Racing Media. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, and let us know who you're pulling for, what you're watching tonight here on the racetrack, as we're in week number 12 here in the Stacy Strong Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. Dave Regal with you on the call. And, I cannot be more thankful for all of you that tune in every week. I mean, so many of you, I know that we're going to see, the likes of Amanda Price and, some of the other people who are cheering on boyfriends, family members, so on and so forth. So can't wait to hear from some of you. I need to know who your early race, picks to win are going to be, as Bobby Anderson, like I said, qualified fastest tonight. And just as I'm looking at that, Bobby Anderson went 29.779 seconds on the timing line, as everything's going to reload itself as we get ready for the start of our race. Drivers climbing into the cockpits here at Kansas Raceway. And, of course, Kansas City kind of straddles Kansas and Missouri, and this racetrack just happens to be right here on the Kansas side of the border. So kind of a different feeling, if you will. Just waiting for Bobby Anderson to crawl into the old cockpit here as the iRacing.com pace car sits patiently at the end of pit road. We see Dylan Banks, Matt Long, and the rest of everybody crawling in. It's going to be 39 cars taking the green flag tonight. John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania, looks like he's going to be starting shotgun on the field. Still waiting for Anderson, McCorkle, Holt. There's Holt. And now we're just waiting for Bobby Anderson and Steve Herring. Well, maybe it's going to be 37 drivers, as it looks like Steve Herring and John Wilco just hopped out of the cars. Waiting for Bobby Anderson. There he goes. Oh, and that's going to cycle Dylan Banks into pole position and shuffle everything. So Dylan Banks and Matt Long going to be featured here on row number 1. Neil Pearson and Paul Hill going to be in row number 2. Row 3 going to feature Patrick Gitter and Josh Berry, Cody McCorkle and Bennett Allen in row number 4. Row 5 going to be Sean Rogers and Nolan Hodgson rounding out our top 10, while Matt DiCiani, Michael Witt, Chris Davis, Dalton Mobley, Matt Gaskins, Chris Custer, Kavaja Holt, Ron Fitting, Tanner Marty, and Matt Mackin making up our top 20. Seba Cornez, Chief Cook and Bottle Washer, Chris Claude starting in 22nd with Randall Watkins in 23rd. Jeff Carson in 24th, Richard Pruitt, Randy Belk, Chad Sanner, Michael Caffrey, Ken Ron, Ryan Samuelson, Brian Tarnowski, Alexander Gangler, Mark Johnson, and Eric Papineau all going to be starting the 34 cars that will take the green flag when it flies. Dylan Banks now being scored as our pole sitter as we come through the 3-4 complex here. The iRacing.com pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road, and the only thing that's left to do is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab the barbecue sauce, settle in. Race fans, it's show time! Side by side, they go nearly 3 wide coming through 1 and 2 as they make the exit out of 2. Everybody getting nice and settled in here to the race cars as we start tonight's race here at Kansas Speedway as we go to the digger cam. The digger cam shaking like crazy as all of these drivers make the run back to the start-finish line. Looks like Dylan Banks is going to get credit for leading lap number 1 as here we are on 3 now. Of course, it looks like timing and scoring may be off, but we'll take that. It's going to make the race about a lap shorter for the actual competition as Matt Long now going side by side with Dylan Banks. We look through the foggy skies as they go side by side. Matt Long and Dylan Banks duking it out for the lead right now on lap number 3. Ooh, a little rub of the wall for Dylan Banks. He shoots to the inside of the racetrack. He goes across the start-finish line second. All of a sudden, everything shuffling up here on timing and scoring. Not sure what caused that. But Matt Long still our race leader, as it looks like too many people came a little bit too close to the entrance to pit road. We're going to ride along here with Pearson as we ride along here just behind Long. Now, Pearson and Matt Long going to have to be going at it hot and heavy early on here while the tires are fresh. Once they can decide who's going to lead this piece, then they'll go single file and maybe just kind of wait on each other, as it sounds like Pearson is shifting from 5th into 4th and rolling out of 2 down the backstretch in 5th gear. Pearson just laid fastest time of the race at 30.37 seconds. We take a look now from Matt Long's rear back at Pearson. There's a lot of real estate between the two, but now Long slides up in front of Cody McCorkle, and McCorkle looks like he wants to try to make a run here at the lead as he suddenly wants to make this a 3-car battle for P1. Cody McCorkle now making a pass for the lead as he lays the fastest time of the race down 30.2 seconds. As we can see the race starting to slowly develop, everybody going single file now. This is something that we don't usually see, in the B and C class cars, the Xfinity and the trucks. But this is something that seems to have become more and more prevalent here in the A cars. Of course, the Cup cars. As we go right up here to the drone cam, we can see all of a sudden Matt Gaskins in the Fireball 79. He goes single file ahead of Josh Berry and Sean Rogers. Michael Witt here in the 88. That Lipton machine starting to lead Dalton Mobley as Mobley here decides he wants to see how close he can get. As we're going to take a peek here to the left here of Dalton Mobley, we can see him rolling out of 2. It looks like he's able to find some speed here on the high line. And you know what? That's going to keep his tires a little cooler. It might chew him up just some, but it does leave his tires keeping cool here on the high side, so that may extend their life by a little bit. He's obviously found his groove up here, and, that can change as the racetrack conditions change throughout the evening here at Kansas Speedway. Dave Regal once again here at the microphone with you, the voice of Sunday Night NASCAR. Glad to be with you as we take a peek back here at Seba Cornez. Seba trying to do battle here with Dylan Banks, who sat P2 when the green flag flew. Banks is now faded back through the field as Seba is up 12. Our biggest mover of the race so far, Matt Gaskins, up 10 here on timing and scoring. So, folks, 9 laps in the books here at Kansas Speedway, and it is only just beginning. Trying to put a little bit of heat into the asphalt, maybe get some heat, reciprocating into those tires, get the grip nice and toasty. As once you hit about lap 9 on this track, that's when Everything is humming just perfectly in these cars. Dalton Mobley here in the deuce. He gets on the high side. It's almost like he saw what was going on behind him. Seba Cornez, though, as we ride along with him, he has now gone single file behind Michael Witten, just ahead of Ron Fitting. About a tenth of a second between Cornez and Witt, as now Cornez starts to close in on Witt. He's going to dive to the low side. He gets a strong entry as he almost is drafting up into the rear of the 88. Let's see if he can get a good launch. Oh! The 88 rubs the wall coming out of 4. That's going to open the door for Seba to secure away 10th position as he crawls into the top 10. Everybody here on timing and scoring still fighting it out early on in this piece. A little breakaway here as we take a look. Mark Johnston in the 80 looking here at the rear bumper of Brian Tarnowski. The 20 and the 29 of Tanner Marty. We can see Tarnowski in the 28 right there in the middle of your screen. It's hard to see through the fog, but there he is, that purple and pink number 28, just behind Chris Custer out of Ohio. And, you know, Custer is one of those drivers, as we take a look here from the rear of his car, that he's going to be here toward the end as long as he keeps this car clean. These drivers have really done a great job with 12 laps in the books. Nobody overdriving their equipment just yet, as we look here to where Tarnowski is now looking to the high side of Custer coming through this turn, as now they pull all but dead even with Johnston and the 29 of Tanner Marty in tow. The 17 of Eric Papineau starting to get in. This is quite a mess, and all of a sudden we're going to watch this right here from Chris Claude's perspective if we can. And we can see Chris maybe with a connection issue here. As we go here, Chris Claude, chief cook and bottle washer here in the Stacy Strong SNN Cup Series. He's looking from behind, and you can see that he allows a little bit of space between himself and Alexander Gangler with that Trisha's Hope decal there. Trisha's Hope, of course, one of our proud sponsors in this league. In fact, the title sponsor in this league. But, you know, Claude at this point just kind of hanging out, letting, somebody against the wall. I can't see who that, I think that's Keith Long, as Keith Long slides through here from Gaithersburg, Maryland. He's obviously now gotten against the wall. That may have just ruined his day. But let's go back here to Chris Claude as we go back onto the nose cam. He's kind of watching what's going on up in front of him. He sees that this gaggle of cars is moving around. They're not really in a single car line formation. So he's going to give just enough room now to Bobby Anderson in the 18, so that if something does pop off here and we do have some type of calamity, that gives Chris enough time to react, get on the binders, and stay out of the way as he works lap number 15 here in the Monster Energy number 10 Toyota Camry. Back to our leader, though, Matt Long and Matt Gaskins. Cody McCorkle now leading Bennett Allen by about 1.73 seconds, as Bennett has just rocketed his way from 9th up here to P2. He's followed by Matt Long, who started P3. It looks like timing and scoring may be a little wonky tonight after our pole sitter decided he didn't want to be up here anymore. But Matt Long now in the 79. I'm sorry, Matt Gaskins in the 79. That Fireball machine, he's at this point just chasing down Gaskins. Let's take a look here from his helmet cam. We've got him equipped tonight for that as we go right to it. Matt Gaskins following Matt Long. You can see that he's not really fighting the wheel very hard, maybe a little loose coming into 3 and 4. And that loose condition that he's got right now, he's not fighting it. You don't see that orange tape really doing very much, you know, as far as wobbling back and forth. He's very comfortable with this condition, but you can see just as he makes this turn, he's definitely, now he's almost tight here in 1 and 2, so it's going to be a battle for him moving through the races. He works lap number 18 of 267, so Gaskin's probably going to be making some adjustments on that first pit stop that we come down to. Of course, as we had mentioned earlier, pit window probably going to be a little convoluted tonight, as we're looking at somewhere in and around 40 to 55 laps for the pit window, so we're just about halfway there. We should start to see some of these cars here making their changes. as it looks like there she is, Amanda Price cheering on Sean Rogers in the 44. Big Mac cheering on Cody in the 78. That's his teammate on JRTCR. Callie H cheering on Nolan Hodgson as always. So, and obviously that's Big Mac set up under the hood of the 78. So excited to see what Big Mac can do for us tonight here in the 78 machine. Let's take a look and see where he may be. And, of course, the 78 driven by Cody McCorkle here, as McCorkle out of Stanley, North Carolina, leads Bennett Allen by 0.6 of a second. That's something that we don't see very often, is you're able to get that kind of distance on Bennett. What Bennett usually needs is fresh tires and a full tank of Go Fast. That's usually what his cars are set up for. As we put that down, and we suddenly start to see Matt Long going side by side on the inside of Bennett Allen, as they've decided to take this and make it a two-car battle for second position as we work lap number 21. Trying to see if we can get a little bit better of a shot here. There it is from our drone in the sky. And almost no room between these cars. Look at Matt Long all over the rear bumper of Bennett Allen. Bennett trying to get the best of him here, as now Bennett able to hold him off and pass Cody McCorkle for the lead in the process. And here comes Matt Long on the low side of Bennett Allen. Bennett trying to hold things together, but Matt Long just way too strong for him here as they leave Cody McCorkle in the proverbial dust, 0.2 of a second behind Bennett Allen now. So Bennett Allen and Matt Long obviously work together to get where they are now here, going 1-2, and that's going to be a lot of fun for Bennett Allen. I mean, you know, sometimes you have that leader who takes a step forward. They're out there just logging laps, doing what they got to do, and, you know, they get very lonely up there. So to have somebody here on your rear, as he does right now, has to be a lot of fun. As we take a look here at Matt Long working the low side of Bennett Allen. We look at him from Bennett Allen's rear bumper, nearly making contact and calling out where he's going to be is Bennett Allen. As we look back now from the roof cam here at Matt Long, they go side by side down the back chute, and they're not done just yet, that's for sure, as we work lap number 24. "25 green flag laps in the book so far tonight," trying to get a hold of Shane Lake and see if we can't get a hold of him here. "26 laps in the books," trying to find Shane Lake, and we'll see where he might be. I can't seem to find him. Well, in the words of Brent Musburger, second down and 9, as it looks like we're just getting, no, you know what? Even better yet. It's kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Backdraft. It's John Wayne time. You're on your own, boss. Here I am, flying solo without a net, as Bennett Allen leads this race with Matt Long in tow. Neil Pearson and Paul Hill follow him in 3 and 4, with Dalton Mobley rounding out the top 5. This front four really hasn't gone single file yet. They still think that they've got it here with 30 laps under their belts. Sean Rogers, though, in the 44, he's starting to sneak up here behind Matt Gaskins as we take a peek at it. The Kalamazoo, Michigan native with Amanda Price cheering him on in the YouTube.com live chat just watches Gaskins smoke a tire, so that he's going to close in here almost like a hungry hippo on this position as he now looks to the high side. We can see just as he works his way here, he's going to leave Gaskins in that Fireball Ford Mustang in the dust. And quite frankly, if you like Fireball enough to put it on the side of your car, you deserve to get past, that's for sure. As we're here on lap number 30, Bennett Allen leading the way, now exchanging that position with Matt Long and Neil Pearson now, as Bennett Allen suddenly sinking through. Oh, Bennett Allen is sideways. That's no way to work lap 31. I thought this was racing, not ballet, as he just pirouetted down the front stretch. Going to take a look here and see what happened with Bennett as we queue up the replay. And, of course, now timing and scoring trying to run away from me here as we get queued back up. Let's take a look and see what happened to Bennett. Bennett got loose coming out of 4, maybe a little bit of help from in front of him, but then he gets nosed in by Dalton Mobley. He gets it forward. He starts to dirt track. It doesn't turn the wheel fast enough and just pirouettes down the front stretch. So that's going to trigger mass pit stops here, or at least for the time being, as we go on out here to Steve Herring. In fact, while these cars get themselves... See, this is something that we've been experiencing with bad weather and all kinds of other stuff here. As, come on, let's get this out of our system, iRacing. We didn't have a problem all week long last week at Dover. No, instead we had power failures and everything else as we get ready to rock and roll once again. Matt Long and Neil Pearson going to sit on the front row. Let's see if we can get a hold of Matt Long. Ah, there he is. There's Shane Lake, who's going to slide in here until Matt Metler gets to work. Shane, it's Dave up here in the broadcast booth. Glad that you're able to slide in alongside of me, kind of in short style here like Chris Collinsworth. Welcome to the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series booth.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Kansas Speedway. It's the land of Dorothy and Toto, but someone's going to end up getting the evil witch treatment. Let's just hope it's not any of our great drivers here tonight, because I'm excited to see where this twister of a race ends up landing and who's going to end up in victory lane.
Well, right now, Matt Long leads the way. He's got Neil Pearson, Paul Hill, and Sean Rogers in tow. And I'll tell you what, those 4 drivers atop the pile are some of the most competitive that we have in this league. I mean, look, I've been covering this league now for 3 years. I've driven in it for 2 of those 3 years. And what a group of guys that you're going to see tonight. Once Matt Metler finally slides in here and gets his butt to work. Matt DiCiani, our points leader, he runs back in 8th position. Michael Witt running in 10th as well. Josh Berry, but not that Josh Berry. Apparently he's a Canadian Josh Berry. In fact, let's see if we can get that driver info up there. Apparently he lives at my mom's. According to this, it says hometown, your mom's. And he couldn't even spell it right.
Well, go
blame
figure.
Canada.
Go, yeah, exactly. Blame them for Celine Dion and Justin Bieber.
Here we are working lap number 33. First caution of the night for cause after Bennett Allen went pirouetting down the front stretch, folks. And glad to have everybody in with us tonight here on the YouTube.com live chat. I know many of you are probably still watching the real race, but make sure that you tune in here on Sim Racing Media. Subscribe and turn on those bell notifications if you haven't done so yet, as we're here in week number 12. So if you haven't taken the time to just click the button, why haven't you? It's one button, one click, you're done.
It makes perfect sense to do it, and we get some great action all around here at SRM. So, what are you guys waiting for?
iRacing.com pace car lights are out. That means we'll be going back green flag racing, this time by Matt Long, going to be our race leader at the flag from Atlanta, Georgia. He'll be joined by Neil Pearson out of Perth, Australia. And I said that right. That's Australia. Paul Hill from Jacksonville, Florida. Sean Rogers out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Patrick Gitter from Charlotte, North Carolina. Matt Gaskins from Parts Unknown. And believe me, we like to leave it that way. Seba Cornez out of Uruguay. Matt DiCiani from Chicago, the city of big shoulders. Josh Berry from my mom's, maybe we're brothers, and Bristol, Tennessee's very own Michael Witt. As we get ready for all of these cars to file back here toward the front stretch, Matt Long with control of the field. He's going to choose the low side here. Of course, in this league, only the low side driver, only the P1 driver gets to choose which lane he goes to. As the iRacing.com pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road, the man in the stand has the green flag in his hand. They enter the Geico restart zone. The green flag waves, and we're back underway.
From Parts Unknown, what is this, the WWE?
Perhaps. He and Kane. It's a thing.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's better than being from Death Valley, because then you have to deal with The Undertaker.
Fair point. Whose name is Mark. He doesn't look like a Mark. Neil Pearson going P3 right now, as he's going to follow Paul Hill in the number 6 Slayer machine. It goes Ford, Chevy, Toyota. It's just one Toyota, and this league, at least at the cup level, is pretty well mixed, as we see some of these guys 3 wide now coming through the quad oval. Timing and scoring having a fit with that one. As we move on through the 79 of Matt Gaskin sliding back into 9th position now, we see the 74 of Chris Davis holding on for dear life behind Chad Sanner, who's now up 20 positions. And check out Sanner out of Smithfield, PA. A lot of PA drivers here, so I'm always happy for that one. Following Josh Berry, our neighbor from the north, supposedly, or Parts Unknown from the north, as now Sanner going to overtake 6th position.
Parts Unknown up north. Isn't that where Brock Lesnar is right about now?
You know what? I haven't watched wrestling since I was 12, so maybe.
I was full of obscure references earlier today. I guess I still got some more left in me.
Watching the 56 of Josh Berry just about come to that rear bumper here. We saw Josh Berry all but, blow a kiss here to Chad Sanders' rear bumper. He suddenly backs off and gives some space as we haul it down into turn 1 and 2. Now we'll go up here to Chad Sanner, who's following Sean Rogers now. Sean Rogers' girlfriend always watching in the youtube.com live chat, so hopefully she's there trying to give him some clues like, hey man, listen, you got to get here, you got to be able to block the GoPro 94.
Yeah, and it's always helpful to have an extra set of eyes on things, just like the actual spotters in NASCAR. If you have someone watching up above for you, it'll actually help you out down the road, make sure that you are able to block out the lines and find out where the faster guys are going. Maybe pick up some speed yourself later on down the road.
Watching Matt Gaskins work just over top of Ryan Samuelson in the 81, as now it looks like Michael Witt starting to maybe drop back to put the tee bags in the cup, as we see Michael Witt out of Bristol, Tennessee, sliding back here into 11th position after restarting so well. Maybe that car not as good at the beginning part of the run. A lot of these drivers, because they know, just for your reference, Shane, because they know how safe this league usually is, especially intermediate tracks, they set these cars up for the long run because they know once they get out there, it might be a while before they see pit road.
Yeah, because I can guarantee you, with the way that things are, we're going to see a lot of green flag racing here as this race goes on.
Kansas Speedway not necessarily known for, becoming caution festivals here on the iRacing.com service. It's probably 3 wide. Dalton Mobley in the middle of Eric Papineau and Mark Johnston on the high side. You'll have to forgive me. I was trying to eat for a second. Apparently, I don't even have time to chew tonight, as Dalton Mobley just got out of that by sliding up and alongside of Chris Custer out of Ohio. Ryan Samuelson looking to the inside now, drawing in ever closer to Michael Witt, and, of course, toward the rear of Seba Cornez.
Yeah, and it looks like these guys are getting real close for comfort early, but the way these cars are, you can really get right up against somebody and just take the air off of them and be able to make passes, especially at a track like this.
Oh, there goes Gaskins through the grass. That's not how you do that, Matt. I mean, I don't want to tell you what to do, but he manages to keep it green. Let's just take a quick peek and see what happened here. Gaskins just doing a little bit of, we'll just call it a little bit of landscaping. We'll quick back this up to just at the moment that it happened. As we go back here to the live stream, there it is. He goes 3 wide. Mobley rubs the wall and shoves him down onto the front stretch into the grass, and that's no way to be.
No, that's going to get people irate later on with you. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that come back to bite.
Matt Long leading the way here on lap number 44. Paul Hill in tow. And don't look now, but Patrick Gitter, as we go right to the nose here of the 21, ready to do the dance with the top 5. As he looks to his right, he's got Bobby Anderson now crawling into the top 5. Patrick Gitter, who won last week at Dover, had 4 pole awards before last week, all of a sudden up here getting ready to battle into the top 5 for the lead.
That right there tells you how strong this driver is. 4 pole awards already. He's got a fast hot rod underneath him.
That wasn't just 4 pole awards. That's 4 in a row.
That's unheard of, that's unheard of, period, let alone in league action. So that's really bad fast.
Let me just go ahead and give you some of the pole awards that he's won this season. All of them in a row. He had the pole at Richmond, Martinsville, Texas, Talladega, and then one at Dover.
So 2 short tracks, the biggest track, and Texas, which, well, is an animal of its own right. Yeah, this guy's good everywhere, it seems like.
His wins this season. He won the Daytona 500. He won at Las Vegas. Okay? And then he also won at Martinsville before he won at Dover. So he's won at, short, intermediate, and long. Wow! The 56 suddenly going 3 wide. That was dangerous in and of itself, as all of a sudden it just seems like the 88 of Michael Witt reloaded himself and slingshotted right to the front of the pack. It might not be a slingshot as much as it is, some kind of a catapult. Now the sun's starting to come out here on the front side of the track. That's going to change some conditions. We'll take a peek in just a few minutes after the track has some time to adjust itself. But my goodness, all of a sudden Michael Witt driving like a man with a purpose, as Dalton Mobley has extended a 3.35 second lead over Matt Long.
Yeah, it looks like the action is spreading out everywhere. And now that the sun's starting to peak out a little bit, it should be interesting to see the track temperature change as the night wears on.
That it will, as we take a quick peek here on the right-hand side of your screen. Track temperature down to 81 degrees, 67 still in the stands, and it's still showing overcast as our weather condition, but we did just see the sun peak out for a moment here on the front stretch. And if it keeps doing that, we're going to see some of that asphalt temperature come up, as they are like a pack of angry hornets back here. All but 3 cars abreast, as there they go, the 74 of Chris Davis in the middle of Michael Witt and the 94 of Chad Sanner. The 74 hanging on for dear life. He's going to have to get into line, and he does. Let's watch this from the 44 of Sean Rogers as he gets to see this in real time as we take a peek here. Rogers watching the 94 and the 74 going at it. He's got his eye, he basically has to look out here like a lizard. He's got to be able to see out of both sides of his head to avoid getting into some kind of mess.
And that is definitely trying to avoid a huge mess, because he had everybody and their brother around him. "51 laps in the books now, 30 to go here in stage number 1.
as Dalton Mobley, your race leader, leads Matt Long and Paul Hill. And Paul Hill not satisfied with P3. He wants more bonus points at the end of this stage. And it looks like just about everybody behind him has suddenly lit a fire under their cans to get through this stage of the race. You know, I know that bonus points are a huge factor in this league, but good Lord, they're all coming like crazy.
Well, every point matters, and this could be a telltale difference down the road of either making the playoffs or not. So it doesn't surprise me to see people start fanning out to actually get the points.
Well, and, you know, you're going to hear somebody at some point later in the season, probably, you know, 1 or 2 weeks before the playoffs start back down in September, they're going to say, hey, listen, that race that I had at Kansas really helped pay off, you know, for where we are now. And, I mean, Kansas is a factor in the playoffs when we go to the round of 12. We won't be back here until September 29th, but for the Hollywood Casino 400. But, you know, we're going to run another 267 laps here in September. So these drivers are filling the notebook to figure out what they're going to be doing, you know, come that round of 12 in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that round of 12 is going to be very interesting to see who ends up making it in. Like I said, this race could be one of the telltale signs now of who gets in and who doesn't, because a lot of people may actually be surprised by it, but a race this early can dictate what happens down the road.
Absolutely. Once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm Dave Regal, and he is Shane Lake here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. You're watching the Stacy Strong Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series right here in Kansas at Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri. It's a whole thing. Believe me, for some reason they decided to build the city right on the borderline between the two states for reasons I'm not quite sure of. God forbid they should just, you know, build the... Oh, there goes the 29. That's Tanner Marty sideways, and we are under caution. Ay vey. Let's see what happened with Tanner. The 88 slides up in front of the 29. He checks up and just gets turned.
Well, that can happen here. That's just the nature of this track. Someone can just get a little bit on the loose side, and next thing you know, bam, there's a wreck waiting to happen.
Going to take another look at this, as that was quite an interesting move here. We see Tanner just over top of Chris Custer. So Tanner comes out. He sees the 88 in front of him. Oh, Custer might have got him there. That might have been caused by Chris Custer, as, of course, now timing and scoring is shuffling itself like a deck of cards at a casino. For whatever reason, this has been happening lately on larger tracks with this league, because it's usually full fields. As we ride along with Chris Custer. And here it comes. There goes Tanner Marty, and boom goes the proverbial dynamite for Tanner.
Yeah, that definitely looked awkward, to say the least, and it's not going to be helpful down the road, that's for sure.
Wholesale pit stops underway for most of the field, but Chris Davis stays out here on lap number 57. He came down last on 31. Looks like the top 10 all stayed out that are now out here. Back here to Chris Claude, so maybe they know something that we don't. That could be an interesting strategy here. In fact, let's see if we can get a hold of Chris Davis, if I can find him in our Discord here. Hey, Chris, it's Dave and Shane up in a broadcast booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, you and the 9 cars behind you all decided to stay out here. What's the strategy and why the call?
Just had really good tire wear on that first run, so didn't see a real need to use the set right now. You know, if we get a late race caution, it'd be nice to have an extra set. So we'll, it may not work out, but it's only stage 1. We got a long race to go.
Yeah, you're going to have about 23 laps to go here in stage 1. How has the 74 been handling? Is this more of a long-run car? I know if it's a CSS setup from, from Jeff Carson, I got to assume that it's a long-run setup.
Yeah, it's definitely a long-run setup. I know Gitter and DeCiani behind me, they also have good long-run cars, so don't know that I'll be able to hold them off, but definitely right there with them. So hopefully we get a good green flag run right here, and the car will come back in, and I'll take off.
I mean, look, you've got DeCiani and Gitter in first and third in our point standings, but you're not far off here in 8th position. I mean, keeping yourself up there at this stage in the race going to be a big factor for you. I mean, what's going to be the mentality getting through the rest of these laps here tonight?
Really just keeping it clean, trying to keep the car straight. If you ever tap the wall, that 12.5 seconds of damage really kills the aero on it. So just keeping it clean till we get to the end and hopefully pull off a good finish.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way and see if you can hold off Gitter and DeCiani.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, Shane, listen, when it comes to holding off those two drivers, Chris definitely has the right mentality here as we get deeper into this race. I mean, he knows that they're good drivers. He knows that they're skilled, obviously. And, he's obviously going to be playing the patience game.
Yeah, and that's something you have to do, especially in a long-distance race like this. I mean, a full 400 miles, it is all about patience, especially at a track like this. And if somebody knows how to do it, sounds like he's the man.
Well, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right as we work here on lap number 59. Going to be 20 to go this time by. When we go back, green flag racing, it's going to be Chris Davis, Patrick Gitter, Josh Berry, Matt DeCiani, Ryan Samuelson, Randy Belk, Nolan Hodgson, Kavaja Holt, Chris Claude, and Dalton Mobley, your top 10. When that flag flies as we work our way out of turn number 2 and head down the backstretch, the iRacing.com pace car leads the way. And with just 2 cautions on the night, that's not a bad thing. The question becomes, do cautions breed cautions here at Kansas?
They can, especially fresh off of a pit stop cycle, but with, about 20 to go on the stage, I think we might see everyone be a little bit on the calm side until we get closer to the end of the stage. Then we might see people getting more aggressive again because points are on the line. And as that iRacing.com pace car makes that hard left-hand turn, we got Chris Davis and Patrick Gitter bringing us down. Hey, Barney, you got that green flag waving for me. We got ourselves a restart, and Davis is gone.
Chris Davis gets the jump over Patrick Gitter and Josh Berry. As Randy Belk looks on from behind, let's take a look here and see what Randy can see. Randy Belk now watching DeCiani and Berry side by side, and then they go side by side just ahead of him. Let's look from DeCiani's perspective. The 74 and the 21 now duking it out, and Matt DeCiani just waiting for somebody to make a mistake. I just don't think that he's going to see that mistake come anytime soon, as now Patrick Gitter overtakes Chris Davis here for the lead. The sun's starting to come out once again here on lap number 61 at Kansas Speedway. So once again, we're going to take a quick peek here at our conditions. 81 degrees, so track temperature doing all kinds of weird stuff here as we work lap number 61.
Yeah, if the track temp's starting to pick up a little bit, these tires are going to start falling off a little bit more. But with under 20 to go in the stage, I think these guys will be fine to make it there without having too big of a problem.
Dalton Mobley watching Kavaja Holt from behind. And once again, that might explain a lot. We're in the midst of a thunderstorm here in southeastern Pennsylvania. Why not?
That makes sense.
It figures. Every Sunday night there's something different. Oh, 3 wide. Watch Kavaja here in the middle. He's holding on for dear life. We're going to go to the blimp and watch Kavaja making contact with the 56 of Josh Berry. And all of a sudden I hear calls for checkup. Bad things happening, and here's caution number 3, as we're not going to be able to see it. Thank you so much, iRacing Connection. Everybody going to have to bring themselves back under control here as we go back above the iRacing.com Speedway. Now that things calm themselves back down, Patrick Gitter comes out the victor after that battle. Kavaja Holt being right in the midst of all of that mess. As everybody gets themselves lined back up, it's going to be Gitter, DeCiani, Davis, Belk. And that's going to leave a couple of those drivers that came in here. We'll pull up that pit strategy right in the middle of everything. Looks like they've got the top 4 with 32 laps on the tires, and then 5, 6, and 8 with 7 laps, 5, 6, and 7 with 7 laps, and then 63 laps on the tires of Ryan Samuelson and Chris Claude.
Well, the strategy is definitely going to start playing out because it's going to be more interesting to see where everybody comes out on these tires because this stage is coming up to a very quick end. Could we see them start to say, hey, look, you know what? Why don't we try to flip for stage 2 and try to get points since we're not going to have any luck with stage 1?
Very true as we work lap number 65. Looks like Paul Hill, Jeff Carson, Chad Sander, Matt Gaskins, and a cast of thousands down on pit road. So we're going to go back up here. For whatever reason, this is what iRacing wants to do tonight. Why not? Once again, want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight here on the YouTube.com live stream. Amanda Price still cheering on Sean Rogers as we close in on that century mark for viewers tonight. We usually get about 300 here tonight on Sunday, Shane.
And that is amazing numbers for a league to get this big of an exposure, especially considering, again, it's a 267-lap race. And the fact of the matter is it's going up heads up right now with the actual event that was rain delayed. So it's doing really well.
We've had that more often than not where when something goes into rain delay, there's people online searching for, NASCAR, pirate feeds on YouTube, and they stumble across us. We had that a couple of weeks ago where a guy poked his head and he goes, wait a second, what is this? This isn't the real race.
The cars might be fake, but the competitiveness is real. Thank you very much, Jimmy Broadbent.
Yeah, no, listen, you're 1,000% correct. The iRacing.com pace car getting some more laps led in here for tonight, as maybe it's the fog that's causing a little bit of these issues here on lap number 66 with connection between that and the thunderstorm outside. I gotta love it. So for all of you that are here in Pennsylvania, I hate the weather, period.
Oh, don't feel bad. It's moving further up to the northeast. I'm going to be getting it tomorrow.
Got a chance on Friday night to head on down to South Philadelphia, check out the Philadelphia Phillies beating the pants off of the San Francisco Giants. They then proceeded to shellac them last night at Citizens Bank Park. It's been a big night for a big weekend for Philadelphia sports if you don't watch basketball.
Yeah, if you do watch basketball, I feel bad that you guys have Joel Embiid.
Listen, this entire town feels bad about that right now.
The only reason you guys had a shot against the doggone Knicks was Maxey. That's it.
Well, this town has a habit of loving you until they hate you. And when they start to hate you, bad things will absolutely happen.
Just ask Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And look, you're not wrong. Like, I swear, they would run Jesus out of town if he didn't score enough points.
They throw batteries at Santa during the football games late year. Come on here, guys.
I can't even defend Eagles fans for that one because I'm not an Eagles fan and I live here.
That says a whole lot.
I mean, look, football is my number 3.5 sport. It's really almost in fourth for me, but for me it goes baseball, NASCAR, hockey-ish, football.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, being here in the Northeast, of course, I got to have the Red Sox. I got to have the Bruins. We should have closed Toronto out in 5, but it took 7, and even that took overtime. So, I don't like our chances with Florida. As the pace car makes that hard left-hand turn, we got ourselves a restart coming with Gitter and DeCanny up on the front row. Barney's waving the green, and we're back off again.
Gitter with a beautiful restart over the rest of the field. DeCanny in tow. He's going to close the door quickly on Chris Davis, who goes side by side with Randy Belk. As Belk here, we see him in the 50, being pushed along now by Sean Rogers out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. As we work our way into turn number 3, Patrick Gitter now gapping Matt DiCiani by about a quarter of a second. Alexander Gangerly, though, he's the first that's, way too loose, but the first that's really, truly side-by-side with Ron Fitting here in the 3. He's got Chief Cook and Bottle Washer Chris Claude just ahead of him. As we go back up here to Patrick Gitter, we see Sean Rogers looking to try to overtake Randy Belk as he makes another run on exit out of 2 and down the back chute.
Yeah, that's the only way you'd be able to get these runs is if you're able to kind of suck up on the car coming off of the corner and then just hook it dead left and surprise them on exit. And it seems like right now it's not working.
Sean Rogers is a very patient driver, though. We've seen him be successful all season long. And, he's one of those drivers that he will be there at the end as long as the car is clean and nothing stupid happens. As we've got 10 laps to go this time by at the line, Dalton Mobley sucking up to the rear of the 74 of Chris Davis. Mobley here as we go down here onto his nose out of Cooper, Texas, rolls out of turn 4. He's got that exit mastered, and I think turn 4 usually has, the potential to have a little bit of calamity. Speaking of which, Brian Tarnowski here in the 28, speaking of calamity, let's take a look here and see what happened with Tarnowski. He works the low side. He noses off of Johnston and just digs up the grass. Hopefully he didn't break anything on the car as he comes back out onto the asphalt safely, and we stay green flag racing.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is dig up the grass when the front end of these things is not only you rip the splitter out, you're liable to rip out the entire front suspension. So good job keeping that car in one piece for right now.
Paul Hill just laid down fast time here in the 6 machine at 30.1 seconds. So he's the closest anybody has come to going sub 30 in race trim. Of course, qualifying was down in the 29s. But Paul Hill so far down 3 positions from where he had qualified in the top 5, running in 8th position right now as we work lap number 73. The end of stage 1 on the horizon as Patrick Gitter done just ahead of Sean Rogers. Dalton Mobley in the deuce. Now, wow, Chris Davis with a long blink. That's got to be frustrating for Randy Belk.
Yeah, because you can't anticipate where somebody's not going to be. Next thing you know, you could be up inside their car. Ouch.
Yeah, it was a little burny. Paul Hill here in the 6 machine, now running in 6. He's almost back to where he had qualified as he chases down Chris Davis. We look a little further back here. Mark Johnston getting ready to overtake Jeff Carson as Carson, leader of the CSS team, kind of a mad scientist building setups in this league, running pretty well right now, up 9 from where he had started. And here's the thing, Shane. I mean, Jeff Carson is one of those drivers where, he designs these cars for the long run. He's not out here trying to play the caution game. And if he gets so much as a nick in the paint of that 9 machine, we're going to see him drop out of the race. It's just kind of the way that things go. As John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania, gets ready to lead Jeff Carson around here by the nose, as he currently is up 23 spots running in 16th.
That is definitely our biggest mover of the race right now, for sure. Going up 23 spots early, that's major.
I mean, look, John Wilco is a very patient driver. He last came down on lap number 64, so he's trying to make up some of that distance. We're going to wind up seeing him be one of the cars that comes in for pit service once we see the end of this stage, which is going to happen 3 laps from now at the line. And, Wilco is he's a very consistent driver. You don't see him come off of those marks very often. And when he makes the pass, it's because somebody made a mistake around him, not him trying to capitalize on anything. As we see Eric Papineau holding off Chad Center as he tries to hold on to 12th position for dear life. He's up 24 spots, as is Wilco now. As Papineau leads, wow, Johnston and the 94 make contact here in the quad oval.
It's getting a little bit dicey with these guys, that's for sure.
Little chippy. Coming toward the end of the stage, I mean, especially when you're trying to chase down Bennett Allen. I mean, look, here's Bennett Allen. We'll take a quick peek from the blimp. He's got Chris Custer behind him. Now, Custer is going to be trying to match him step for step. He goes a little bit lower, tries to close the gap, and that opens the door for Papineau to slide in behind him. So now it's going to be a two-car battle to overtake Bennett Allen for that bonus point here at the end of the stage.
Well, that's what's going to make things interesting is who's going to be able to actually make that happen because
Bennett
points
rubs the
on the
wall.
line. Oof.
Bennett rubs the wall. That opens the door for Papineau to slide in here. Papineau going to take 10th position away, and Chris Custer now looks from behind with 2 to go here. Well, maybe about a lap and a half. Custer, whoa! Custer bites the wall. That's going to pretty much seal the deal now for Sanner to stay in 11th position and allow Papineau to stay here and capture that last bonus point. Of course, the stage going to end when the 10th place car gets around at the line. Wow, what a battle for the lead breaking out as Sean Rogers and Patrick Gitter get the hammer and tongs out early tonight.
That tells me those guys are going to be in it for the long haul for this race because if they're getting it out now, I can only imagine what's going to happen when that final stage clicks off.
They cross the start-finish line, so stage winner going to be Patrick Gitter, and as the caution flies, Eric Papineau going to be the 10th place finisher. So Patrick Gitter captures the green and white checkered flag. Sean Rogers, Dalton Mobley, Matt DeCiani, Paul Hill, Chris Davis, Ron Fitting, Alexander Gangler, Randy Belt, and Eric Papineau round out your top 10. They'll all be earning those bonus points. Of course, 10 bonus points to Patrick Gitter, 1 to Eric Papineau. Let's see if we can get a hold of Gitter. As we're going to get a hold of Patrick Gitter, see if we can find him up here. And maybe Gitter's not in Discord? I find that strange. There he is. Hey, Pat, it's Dave and Shane up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
10-4.
Hey, man, listen, great finish here to the end of stage 1. I mean, you get the green and white checkered flag. You get those 10 bonus points. After your performance last week at Dover, what's going to be strategy here moving into Kansas?
It's part of it's tire saving, but the clean air is definitely important here. And Kansas, I like a lot because you've got basically 3 different lanes and got guys that are going to be running all over the track. So it should be interesting to kind of see how guys conserve tire and what lines they choose to run.
Yeah, it seems like everybody is able to move somewhere on the racetrack. Plenty of real estate, if you will, here at Kansas Speedway. Now, as we go into the next stage, it's going to be about another 80 laps once the green flag flies again. I saw some drivers going 3 pit stops during stage 1. I saw others taking it 2. Almost nobody making it 1. What say you, and what kind of adjustments are you going to be making to the 21?
I think it's going to be dependent on the cautions, what we had. I know we made a little bit of a change there in that first stage based on some of those, the timing of some of those cautions. And I'm keeping an eye on the weather too, because, we're getting pretty realistic conditions compared to the actual race today. It's a lot cooler, a little bit different wind direction too than what we've seen in officials. So I think that'll play a role in some strategy here as well.
Yeah, here's the thing. We sit here and we look at the weather forecast or at the weather conditions right now. 81 degrees on the asphalt, 67 in, ambient air temperature. So that's going to allow a lot of grip in these cars. What does that do for the real estate on the racetrack?
Oh, man, I think guys, once they start to feel the grip, they get a little more aggressive. Certainly as the run comes to an end, whether it's stage end or the end of the race or even just the end of a green flag run, guys trying to make up real estate and track positions. So yeah, I think you'll see guys that are a little more confident in their cars. They know it's going to hold in the corner better compared to what they felt early in the week in some officials, and I think you'll see some of that here as the race goes on.
All right, Pat, well, listen, good luck the rest of the way. Looks like you're going to be restarting P3. Samuelson's going to be leading, so good luck, and I'm sure you're going to have to get around him once the green flag drops.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
That, of course, the voice of Patrick Gitter, driver the number 21 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Shane, listen, everybody's strapping in here to get rocking and rolling here for stage number 2. What would be going through your mind as you get back in line?
Just keeping the tires warm, just keeping my head clear because it's going to be another long stage. Try to stay a little bit on the loose side physically, and honestly, just try to log as many laps as possible. If I get a chance to get out front, so be it. If not, just log some laps until the pit stop, and then see if I can maybe attack the second half of the stage.
Ryan Samuelson going to be our race leader here. The 38 is going to get the free pass this time around, so he's going to take off here. So it's going to be Samuelson, Mobley, Gitter, Rogers, DeCiani, Paul Hill, Alexander Gangler, Chris Davis, Randy Belk, and Bennett Allen, your top 10. Ryan Samuelson on the oldest tires in this pile up here with 20 laps on them. Everybody else has a bunch of fresh Mr. Feelgoods underneath and a tank full of Go Fast. So that's going to be a major factor here once the green flag flies over Kansas Speedway once again.
Yeah, and those 4 Feelgoods are going to eat up that car on 20-lap-old tires almost instantly. So I don't know what the strategy is staying out on 20-lap-old tires, but never know.
I mean, if there's anybody, to be completely honest, if there's anybody that I would trust at the front of the field on old tires, it's going to be Ryan Samuelson. You know, he's a very smart driver. He spent a long time in this league, and he knows how to get it done. We've seen him do that over the years, and I think at this point he's just trying to put himself in the best position that he can to succeed. As the iRacing.com pace car dips down onto pit road, Samuelson hits the Geico restart zone, drops the hammer, and here we go.
And it looks like that outside line did not get going worth an absolute. And it's got to be those older tires.
Yeah, the outside line took a little bit. We look all the way back here at Chris Claude in 19th position. Everything kind of fanned out just in front of him, and Chris took evasive action to get out of the way, as now we start to see Ron Fitting here in the 3 chase down Dalton Mobley and Sean Rogers just ahead of him. We ride along here with Ron out of Sumter, South Carolina. He gets into line, and he's going to stay just kind of on that transition between the racing surface and the apron. As he hauls it down into turn number 1, he's able to make that with relative ease. We take a quick peek here out to his right. He can see Dalton Mobley making the pass, but that's just for now as we work lap 87.
Yeah, and it looks like we got ourselves a nice little tight battle up front here. And I stand corrected. It looks like most of the field is still relatively tight. So it'll be interesting to see how this field actually starts to stretch itself out once these tires get a little bit of wear and tear on them.
Ryan Samuelson still leading this piece as Bennett Allen is charging forward. Now Bennett Allen going to secure the lead for the time being as we work lap 88. So Bennett Allen, your new race leader, as he took advantage of Ryan Samuelson on the old tires. Maybe Samuelson let him cool down just a little bit too much. So he's going to be holding on for dear life as he's going to slowly but surely start bleeding back through the field. Dalton Mobley on the high side. Patrick Gitter just behind him on the bumper. Gitter's going to have to find a way to get her done and get around Samuelson. But for the time being, he seems pretty content just holding on back here and not making any quick movements or fast knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah, right now being smooth is going to be key. Granted, you know, he's got a lot of cars around him. But if he's able just to kind of maintain a little bit, let's let the car come to him, let the tires pick the heat up in them, he should be fine as this stage wears on.
Bennett Allen opening up just about a 0.3 of a second lead over Dalton Mobley. Chris Davis right now in the 74 trying to chase down Seba Cornez as Cornez works just over top of Matt DeCiani. And now Cornez seems to have found that quick groove for him here in the number 59 Toyota Camry, working lap number 90.
And that's going to definitely take him up towards the front, because if he's able to make up the hay while the sun shines, especially on the top of the track, not too many cars are running up there right now, so he should be able to get a lot of positions because it seems like everyone's still fighting for the bottom.
Well, while they battle this out, we're going to take our first break here on Sim Racing Media on lap number 91. Dave Regal and Shane Lake with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll be right back on SRM.
So, hi, my name's Christy. I am a wife, a mother of 3 children. I am a sister and an aunt of lots of nieces and nephews, and I'm also a substitute teacher. So my everyday life changed by going to appointments, a lot of scans. During the treatment, my body just got weaker, so I wasn't as active with my children and with my husband. So I was laying on the couch a lot more. I'm an active person, and so that just didn't sit well with me, but that's how it changed. My body was just weaker, and I couldn't do the things that I used to do. So there was a lady in where I live from a local church who had heard that I had breast cancer, and she sent me a letter just reaching out for support, and she actually said that she's the one that told me about Trisha's Hope and that I should contact them, so I did. So specifically, I wasn't able to really work during my treatment or anything like that, so the grant that I was able to get helped me pay my bills, provide gas money. I was driving to and from treatments, and so it helped a lot with bills and everything. I would just say I am so grateful for Trisha's Hope and for all the people that have donated, because I don't know what I would have done without them.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Apromitis is ahead. It's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler, or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway, where Bennett Allen is our race leader. We had a caution during the commercial, and it looks like there may have been some mayhem breaking loose on the racetrack. But right now, Bennett Allen holding off Seba Cornez out of Uruguay in the 59 Toyota Camry. Dave Regal and Shane Lake with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast Booth. I want to thank all of you for making us a part of your evening, welcoming us into your homes and onto your phones, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. As Shane, listen, this has been an incredible race so far.
Yeah, it has. And the fact that we've only had, 4 cautions counting the stage break. So far in about this span of, we're talking about, about 100 laps or so, give or take. It's been interesting to say the least around here.
Yeah, right now we're about 61 laps away from our Stage 2 break, and Sean Rogers now looking to throw the hairnet on and serve lunch to Ron Fitting as he has just been slowly but surely eating his way on the high side, drafting behind Dalton Mobley. So he's obviously found a partner here, and that's something, when I say drafting, I'm not being facetious. That's something that really can break out here at Kansas Speedway, especially with these big sweeping turns. The long backstretch here at Kansas really makes for some interesting driving.
It really does, and right now I've got my eyes tuned on this front battle with Allen and Corners, because these guys are starting to go at it a little bit hammer and tong as well. It's getting interesting.
Interesting is definitely one way to put it, as Bennett Allen holds off Seba. And, Seba, this is probably the highest that I've seen him in more than a dozen races, between this year and last year. He's running this league now since 2020, I believe, and has just absolutely been a key player as far as, a driver in this league. He manages to make it here every week. Sometimes something stupid happens with him or around him, as side-by-side goes Sean Rogers and Dalton Mobley through the tri-oval. As they haul it down into turn one, Rogers makes contact with Dalton Mobley, bounces off of him, and into turn two.
Well, you can lean on each other a little bit, but eventually these cars are going to break, and you keep banging doors like that, I guarantee you someone's going to end up with some right front damage.
Yeah, Dalton Mobley cannot be happy right now with what he just experienced off of the 44. The Cooper, Texas native rolling here, now having to allow Ron Fitting to work his way by. We see Ron here just to the left, and Ron is going to bring along the 6 car of Paul Hill. So Dalton Mobley definitely affected in some kind of a negative way from that contact with the 44, who now runs in 3rd position, holding off Ron Fitting.
Yeah, it looks like the 44 flat out used him up, and unfortunately, right now that 2 car is paying the price for it.
All of a sudden, Sean Rogers getting ready to challenge Seba Cornez, and I feel like I suddenly need to telegraph the information to Rogers. Be careful what you do around Seba Cornez. Seba will not give this position up easily, and if you take it from him, he will try to grab it back. As now Sean Rogers works his way past Seba, drafting up just behind Bennett Allen. Seba Cornez going to be thinking that he doesn't really back off; he reloads.
Yeah, Seba just the way you're describing him, reminds me of a lot of guys like Ryan Newman, Ross Chastain. Hard to get around, and if you do manage to get around them, they go instant attack mode to try to get it back, because we got a battle for the lead brewing.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who exactly, using your analogy. Here's who he reminds me of. He's Smoke.
Yes.
I have seen over the years Tony Stewart, get past, and he's like, hey, that was mine, give it back. And he comes back with a vengeance. And that's what Seba Cornez is going to do once he gets back up here to Bennett Allen, and now Sean Rogers, our race leader, gapping Allen by 0.2 of a second here on lap 111.
Yeah, it looks like that 44 car is starting to get dialed in. That contact with the 2 didn't hurt him at all, it looks like, because he's starting to drive off from everybody. And if you notice, he's using the middle groove a lot more often than what the rest of the field is doing. So he may be able to use that to his advantage, keep the RPMs up, get the better drive off the corner.
Riding along here with Bennett Allen in the 15. Rogers is all over the racetrack. He's able to use every bit of asphalt out there, and it allows him to get the run to get away from Bennett Allen, as Bennett trying to use that middle groove, as you had just been talking about. Bennett Allen's able to consistently use that groove, but he's trying now to draft up behind Sean Rogers. You can hear the RPMs increase in the 15. He uses that to his advantage to sling himself down here to the low side. He's now going to try to take the Rogers move, slide out to the wall, and then point that nose right toward the start-finish line on the apron.
Yeah, what he's doing is he's pulling a late diamond to the corner, because what he's able to do is get the drive off of turn 4 and drive it straight down the hill to the start-finish line, keeping it about as straight as possible, and then keeping the tri-oval straight going into turn 1.
Chris Davis, as we get the GPU to click itself back up here. Chris Davis looking to close in on Ryan Samuelson. He's holding off Eric Papineau about 0.3 of a second behind him. Ron Fitting, meanwhile, about to start to do some fancy dancing, if you will, with the 14 of Matt DeCiani, who's now 3 wide. And DeCiani now shoots himself right alongside of Ron Fitting, What a move he just pulled to go from the middle of a 3-wide situation now to just in front of Fitting.
That was definitely using some horsepower to get the job done. Very impressive.
The talented drivers, no matter what league you're in, no matter whether it's here on iRacing or in the real world, are always saving a little something. You know, that's something that the great Barrett Coffey, from a former driver here in this league, taught me a long time ago. We were racing together at Talladega in a money race in trucks. And, you know, so if I saw, back in the day when I was driving, if I saw a money race in trucks at Talladega, Daytona, iRacing Super Speedway, I was there. And
Right.
He taught me, hey, listen, it can be a fixed setup. Save a little bit. Just, you know, maybe if you're not at 100% on the throttle, be at 90. You'll still be able to draft up here and work around the racetrack. You know, save a little bit. That way, when you need it, it's there for you. And that's exactly what DeCiani just did to get out of that situation with Ron Fitting.
Yeah, you always want to have a little something left in reserve in case you get in a tough situation or you get in a position where you know you've got the other person cooked. Why not use what you've got in the tank to your advantage?
Now Ron Fitting side by side with Chris Davis as Ryan Samuelson on the old tires looks to make his entrance here as we go to the 81. The 81 now trying to dig underneath of Fitting and draft up just behind Chris Davis as we work lap 117. Davis once again going to shoot just ahead of Samuelson. Fitting still back there trying to claw his way through the standings, and Seba Cornez has now hemorrhaged 10 spots and runs in 11th.
I think he might have used up what he had for tires in that earlier battle, because since he slipped that far back, something tells me he's not done hemorrhaging spots.
No, currently Seba being scored in 10th position. He's got, let's just see right here, 35 laps now as Eric Papineau gets around him, but he and Papineau evenly matched on the tire front. Now it looks like Seba's going to slide on in front of Papineau. So 35 laps on those tires. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, Ryan Samuelson on the old tires up here in the mix, still running in 8th position around all of these cars who have much fresher tires than him. And he's able to keep that number 81 Chevrolet Camaro cranked up to crazy here on 119.
Well, speaking of crazy, we've now got a 3-car battle for the lead. I've got my eyes on with the 21, the 44, and the 15 all going at it, and it's turned into a nice little dogfight.
Yeah, you know, usually, whoa, there they go! Oh! There goes the 15! And there is the clown line of the day out of Sean Rogers' mouth on race radio. He's not wrong, as Bennett Allen was desperately trying to defend his position. And I got to be honest, as we're going to take a quick run back here at the replay, you know, Bennett Allen was just simply doing his job trying to hold his position down. I mean, you know, team orders are very simple. Keep it moving forward. As we take one look here from the blimp cam, we see Bennett Allen sliding up the racetrack. He had a full head of steam, gets into the 44, and still manages to maintain P2, which causes the 44 of Sean Rogers now to slide back here into 3rd position with about 3/4 of a second between himself and Bennett Allen.
You got to wonder how much damage was done to that 44 car, because he gave that wall a really good shot after that contact.
Yeah, and you know, for people who have never done it before, if you go out to the outside wall on the racetrack, and I have, and put your hand up against, you know, and rub that wall, you got to remember, it hurts your hand doing it, you know, just standing still on the outside of the racetrack. Do it at 170 miles per hour. It's much more violent on the fiberglass.
Yeah, it's a real good way to get the right side door ripped off that car. And right now, that 44 car, I guarantee you, Rogers right now has got to be sitting in that car wondering, okay, do I have anything bent? If we're fine, can I go back up and attack? Or he might just be saying, you know what? Let these guys get it out of their system. I'll come back in the final stage and get everybody.
Well, and Rogers has there it is. Rogers has a helmet cam for us tonight. So let's see where this car is pointed as he comes down the back chute behind Bennett Allen. As we take a look here from his helmet, looks like he's not too adversely affected. That car definitely loose as a goose, though, as we watch him bump steer through turns 3 and 4 and back onto the front stretch. So he's obviously ready to serve Bennett Allen with a little comeback juice here on lap 124.
Yeah, he looks like he's a little bit loose on entry, but the one thing I'm noticing is he's also downshifting in the corners, trying to keep the RPM up, so that way the car can actually rotate more in the corner. So it'll be interesting to see what he does on the newer tires, because I don't think he was shifting on the new ones, but now he's got some age on these tires as we see the 15 in the fence. It's getting a little bit dicey around here.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little slippy as Chris Davis and Paul Hill going at it. Let's see if maybe some of that track temperature came up from the sun. Yep, 88 degrees, so it's now up 7 degrees since we last took a peek at it about 40 laps ago. So that 7 degrees, obviously everybody was making some of the adjustments for the tighter racetrack, but now it's starting to loosen up, and it's evident in what Sean Rogers was doing with the steering wheel as he has now gotten around Bennett Allen. As we're going to take a quick peek. Let's see if I can find where that happened, because here it is. Hey, don't go too far. Just trying to click the old button there.
Technology
as
has
we're going
a
to
mind
take
of
a
its
peek.
own.
There it is, the rub out of the 15. That opens the door for the 44. Now the 44 takes advantage of Bennett Allen and just absolutely hammers it going into 1 to take back P2.
Yeah, and right now it looks like the 15 of Bennett Allen's suffering a little bit more, because I believe he's about to get passed by DiCerini.
Yeah, DiCiani just got around him now and secures away P3 for the time being. So, and Bennett Allen, one of those drivers that once he uses it up, we're just going to, get loose coming out of 2. Once he uses it up, he's going to be having to struggle now the rest of the way until pit stops begin. And that's not going to be for a little while, so buckle in, buddy. It's going to be a bumpy ride as he goes side by side, nearly door handle to door handle with the 14 coming through the tri-oval as he drifts up toward Matt DiCiani. He doesn't catch him, but that's as close as a human being wants to get right now this early in the race.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit concerned if I was that 15 car, because if it's driving like this now, you're going to be praying for a caution or come down pit road real fast, because he's not going to like the way this car is going to feel in another 10 laps.
Further back in the field, we haven't checked real deep tonight as everything's been pretty exciting atop the pile. Chris Custer now looking to get around Neil Pearson in the 58. Pearson trying to hold him off. As we look from the rear of Pearson, we can see that the 66 has a little bit of a crinkle-dinkle on the old nose there. So that's going to be interesting to see if that affects Ohio's very own Chris Custer. And I know that you and I talked about it on Thursday night when we were calling Racers Elite, and here we are again with another driver with a Coca-Cola paint scheme. And to me, it just, as I mentioned before, it just feels right.
Yeah, it really does. And like you said, we talked about this Thursday when we were talking Racers Elite. Looking at this now, again, it just feels so amazing to see the Coke sponsorship on this car. And if only it was running a little bit better, didn't have that crinkled up front end, but it looks like there's a good part of this field, especially towards the back half, that's got some sort of damage. I'm looking at that 58 car right now in front of him, and that thing looks pretty wounded as well.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody has some war scars. As Patrick Gitter and Matt DiCiani are going to come down pit road, that's going to open the door for Sean Rogers to become our race leader once again. Of course, that's going to throw iRacing timing and scoring into complete chaos as Gitter, DiCiani, Mobley, Long, and Matt Gaskins are all going to come down pit road for service. Sean Rogers stays out, though, so he's going to get credit for leading another lap as Bennett Allen now whips on past with Chris Davis in tow when Sean Rogers made the left turn to go down pit road. So obviously green flag pit cycle is underway here at Kansas Speedway. Dave Regal and Shane Lake with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. Want to welcome everyone in tonight as we take a quick peek here. Come on. That's enough. As we take a quick peek here at the YouTube.com live chat. Amanda Price saying that she has no doubt that he'll get back there. Let's go. And she's not wrong. 112 viewers tonight. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you. As without you guys at home, we wouldn't have anybody to talk to, that's for sure.
True. We'd be sitting in this booth sounding like a couple of idiots without having everyone else watching.
I still sound like an idiot. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Okay. As right now, we still have Allen up front in that 15. Caution comes out. What brought this on? Oh, I'm looking at it right now. What happened? Oh, the 10 car. Chris Cloud just was getting ready to come on pit road and just screwed up his entry. And we are under caution in the middle of a green flag cycle. Isn't it funny how that always just works out?
Yeah, that doesn't always work out for everybody, but Chris Claude being scored as having something wrong. Let's take a peek here and see what happens. I might have figured this... Oh, nope, I didn't. Well, maybe that's just from the replay, as it looks like Chris just got a little wild coming down to... Whoa, Chris! Hey, listen, the race is this way, pal. I might have figured out the issue here that we've been fighting now for months and months and months here on this broadcast. Oh, this could be exciting.
Oh?
Nope, that's not it. That's not the secret. No, wait. I got something good here.
I'm usually concerned when somebody says something like that.
That's not the combination. Come on, give me somebody on the track. Let's see if we can make this work, folks. Stand by as we work through our technical difficulties. It's either the thunderstorm outside or it's this, but I think I might have found a secret.
Well, as you're working on a secret, the pit stops have cycled through, and it looks like Allen is still going to be retaining the lead. It's usually the simplest things that turn out to be the biggest struggle.
Well, I think we finally figured this out. My God. Look at that. There's people sitting on pit road and I can see them. Hey!
How about that?
I hate to say it this way, but we kind of need a wreck. I need to see if this works.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get something before long.
Yeah, well, I'd rather not have anything go wrong. How's that sound?
Yeah, true. Last thing we need, right?
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing that I've noticed is that since iRacing has stopped letting us use the user interface from the website, that's also been a problem for me.
Yeah, it's been a giant pain for a lot of people.
It's just interesting, but now that everything is settled in here on the old screens, I'll have to tell you off air what I did, but this may be good.
Well, we'll find out as this race goes on, I'm sure.
Tune in next time as we see whether or not Batman and Robin can escape the brutal GPU chewer. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Oh.
I love, you know what, I've got a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old loves Batman because Daddy is a complete nerd. But I feel like the safest Batman that I can let him watch just so happens to be the 60s Batman because, Batman wasn't some crazy vigilante. He helped the police. That's what he asked a cop last summer when we were actually at my day job and had to chase some people away from our pool who had gotten in after hours. And, it's one of those situations. Wow, what a group of cars having to come back around that got trapped a lap down. But, I feel like that was always kind of fun. It was campy, it was cool, and Batman still wound up winning.
Yeah, I mean, that was your prototypical 60s, semi-cartoonish, semi-live action show. And it just evolved from there to where things definitely took a darker turn as the 80s hit.
The iRacing.com pace car lights are out, which means that we'll be going back green flag racing this time by Bennett Allen and Chris Davis lead the way. They're followed by Ryan Samuelson, Chad Sander, Nolan Hodgson, Ron Fitting, Bobby Anderson, Michael Witt, Mark Johnston, and John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania, representing the 570. And, I say that, and I feel like, Shane, I have to peel back the curtain a little bit. I used to live about 15 minutes from McAdoo, Pennsylvania, and when I say that it's a small town, it is like a small town's midget cousin.
Yeah, up here in Maine, we got about 9 or 10 of those, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's the kind of town where if you blink, sneeze, or fart, you've driven through it.
It's one of those you could probably throw a football end to end, and you'd hit the next town over about 20 yards in. So I get it, believe me.
Sixth caution of the night, fifth for cause here as we work our way toward lap 165. We're kind of rumble, stumble, fumbling our way toward it as Bennett Allen lines up on the inside this time out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Of course, he is our 2022 Xfinity Series champion, so 2 years ago he managed to bring home the championship in the Xfinity Series, and I'll tell you what a year that was for him. He was just on fire.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to be a lot more of the same as we're getting ready to watch that pace car make that hard left-hand turn.
Pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road. Bennett Allen hits the Geico restart zone, drops the loud pedal, and we are off on 139. Bennett gets a crazy jump over top of Chris Davis, and look at that. All of the cars are stable on the screen. Oh, my God, it worked. Look, I can go up to the blip, and I can see all these cars. Look at them go. They're racing. Who'd even do?
I believe Medea right about now would be giving everybody a hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I'm with you, man. Listen, this is just as exciting for me as it is for Darnay or anybody else who's been frustrated by some of the graphical issues. I figure between that and the weather here, we may have just cracked the Da Vinci Code, if you will. Chad Sander works the high side of Bobby Anderson. Anderson in that number 18 M&M's Ford Mustang. Don't say it too fast because you'll say Toyota Camry. Out of the former Joe Gibbs Racing stable, made famous by none other than Kyle Busch. And I don't know how you feel about Kyle Busch, but there was a time where I absolutely loathed that dude.
Oh, there's a lot of time I loathed him, and I actually had a run-in with him up here at Oxford Plains back in 2011, but I don't think we have enough time for that story.
I felt like he was just too good for his own good, and it, kind of alienated a lot of people in the garage area. And if you're going to be in this sport, you know what? As much as Dale Earnhardt was the intimidator, he was still everybody's friend once he got out of the car. You can be a jerk on the racetrack, but you don't have to be a jerk in the garage.
No, and that's the big thing is Earnhardt was always the one to grab somebody and say, hey, look, I see what you're trying to do here. Why don't you try it this way? Or, what have you. I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but there was really no rivalry between Earnhardt and Gordon. Earnhardt actually helped Jeff out a lot of times early on in his career.
There was an interview that I saw with Ray Evernham that Evernham was basically like, hey, oh, geez. Oh, wait, it's stabilized. It's getting better. Where Evernham was like, no, we were kind of, buddies there on the racetrack, at least on the pit boxes, where they had a communication between the 24 and the 3 pit boxes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Evernham and Andy Petrie were talking a lot about things, and I guess there was one race, I think it was Charlotte, that Evernham mentioned, that they actually built the springs that went under the 3 car.
Yeah, and, that was a different time in auto racing, so as it was, as we look back at this mess of cars. Nope. What I did, well, it made it a little less jerky. I think I'm going to have to work this out, though. This may be, maybe it's this. But Evernham, talked about the fact that they were sharing springs and so on and so forth. And here's the deal, to use the King's line. Where did the screen go? Evernham, pretty much said, "Hey, listen, we had a period where it was just, working together, and it was okay to work together."
Yeah, because it wasn't just team against team; it was manufacturer against manufacturer, and a lot of the Ford guys, it didn't matter who you drove for, whether it was Junior Johnson or Robert Yates or Roush Racing at the time. All those guys collaborated and helped made each other better. So the Chevy teams had to do what they had to do to work together. The Pontiac teams had to do the same. And there was far less of either manufacturer. Most of the time in the 90s, Ford was the dominant car. So they had to do what they had to do to keep themselves out front and protect the name brand. So it just came down to, at the end of the day, manufacturer helping manufacturer. It didn't matter if, you were rival teams. You helped each other at the end of the day about things. And right now, speaking of rival teams, we got the 15 and the 74 starting to drive away from everybody.
Yeah, they're working together here and now gapping Bobby Anderson by 2 seconds even, as Bobby Anderson in the 18 is trying to chase him down, but just absolutely can't. There's no way, under normal circumstances for him to be able to do that. Michael Witt here in the 88 working just underneath the 80. Oh, geez, is trying to hold on to things here. Sorry about that, folks. Was trying to read something here on the screen as we're still trying to work through some of these issues. Unfortunately, it still wants to be difficult, but Michael Witt here teabagging his way through the field as he chases down Ron Fitting in the 3. And it looks like the 80 of Mark John. Is that what in the world kind of paint scheme is that? It looks like a familiar logo. Famous Amos. No wonder. I am very familiar with Famous Amos.
So we've got cookies and tea running up close to each other.
Tea and cookies?
Oh.
Well, it is what it is, as Patrick Gitter in the Team Conti 21 gets ready to get just behind Nolan Hodgson. Now, Nolan Hodgson, of course, being cheered on, as always, by Callie H. Gail Reams is also cheering him on, saying, "Wow, Nolan, keep moving up." And he's trying to move back up, as, Nolan currently up 4 positions. He was a lot higher. He's now slipped into 6th position. Patrick Gitter running right now where he started in 7th position. Bennett Allen leads the way, though, with Chris Davis, and now they've opened up to 2.3 seconds over Bobby Anderson.
I don't know if you caught that, but the 3 bounced off the wall pretty doggone hard off of turn 2, and it took the 80 straight with him, so I think the cookies are starting to crumble a little bit on that 80 car.
Without a doubt, as we move on through here on tonight's race, trying to call up a couple of settings on the old PC here, as it just seems like things don't want to work the way they're supposed to, but I think we've at least kind of located where some of the problem lays. So you'll have to forgive me, Shane, as I'm trying to work through this and see if we can't make this a little bit better.
Oh, I get it, man. Trust me. Technical issues abound. I know how that goes with the morning show, so believe me, working on the fly is something we all have to know how to do in this world.
Yeah, tell us about that since we are here. Tell us about your morning show and what you do during the week.
Oh, 5 days a week, I co-host and co-executive produce Snowman in the Morning on Snowman Multimedia. 3 hours of talking sports, all the hottest of takes, and it's the coldest of takes and the hottest of, everything else we have going on. The actual tagline escapes me, but I've been busy all day, so bear with me. But we usually go from about 11 to 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're actually looking to move the time earlier into the morning later on come June, July, because we've got other networks that are actually looking to pick us up. So we might actually be starting in at like 8 o'clock in the morning starting in June. And we even have our own line of merchandise. So if people want to help represent the company, represent the brands, we even have our own merchandise. So we can hook you guys up with T-shirts, mugs, hoodies, everything. So we got everything for a sports fan's needs. You want to talk sports? We're live on YouTube every morning from 11 to 2. And we look forward to seeing you guys as part of the Snowman crew.
sounds like I need to be tuned in tomorrow about 11 a.m. And, of course, you can check out his merch store there as we've got about 10 laps to go here in Stage 2. That's got to be kind of cool. I mean, some of us have real day jobs where we can't just hang out and do online sports, but, it's something that I've been blessed to be able to do on WMGH as I work, terrestrial radio in the evening and, of course, as doing the news and during the fall getting a chance to do high school football play-by-play. And coming up August 10th, potentially calling a dirt race up at Mahoning Valley Speedway coming up there on WMGH. So that's kind of cool. And they've been so good to me, especially considering the fact that I live 70 miles away from the station and still able to get her done, helping out up there on the crew. As speaking of getting her done, the 8 car of Alexander Gangler, I think we got this settled out. Whoa, Gangler just bouncing between the 50 and the 17, gets out of the line of fire. Randy Belk and Eric Papineau have got to be happy that he finally got out of the way, because once you bounce off of one and ricochet into the other, all you are right there is just a ticking time bomb waiting to destroy everybody's car around you.
Yeah, that's one game of pinball you don't want to be around.
Chris Davis leads the way over top of Bennett Allen. They still have about a 2-second gap back to Patrick Gitter, but this little 3-car breakaway here, the 59, the 17, and the 50, they're starting to, whoa, here comes Gangler again trying to run in there, suddenly breaking up the party, if you will, as Seba Cornez now runs himself in 15th position, still up 8 from where he began. He was our race leader all but for a little bit earlier on in this piece, and here he is with the sunshine beaming off the side of that number 59 Toyota Camry. Here on lap 158, we'll take a quick peek here, 83 degrees. So the weather's starting to fluctuate as the clouds are moving in and out of the racetrack here at Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, the 59 was up front by the time I was sliding in here, and he was doing really well. He was up front for a good piece of this. Now all of a sudden, once the track heated up, I don't think it suited the setup for him. But as it's cooling off, it seems like his car is starting to come back around. And as the track gets cooler, as this race wears on, that 59 could be back up towards the front by the end of this.
Right in the middle of all of that is Chris Custer here. They're almost running like a five-piece car here. They go into the diamond pattern. Ron Fitting drifts down the racetrack. We can see Randy Belk in the 50 trying to hold his line below the white line here on the apron. As they work their way into 1 and 2, Chris Custer holding his very own Bennett Allen, though, up atop the pile with Chris Davis. They're running 1-2. Bennett Allen now rubbing the wall, and with 5 to go this time by at the line, Chris Davis looks like he is all but secure in that Stage 2 victory.
Yeah, I think the 15 just decided to back the pace down a little bit. He knows he's going to end up getting another set of tires here. He knows he's got a relatively comfortable gap between himself and third place. I got a feeling he's just in cruise control mode now. I tell you right now, someone who's not in cruise control mode is Gitter, because he's got company all over his back end.
Yeah, Patrick Gitter with Bobby Anderson in tow, the 70 machine of Dylan Banks, a lap car, trying to get around him as we see Banks here down 3 laps, still battling his way around the racetrack, trying to get himself where he's got to be late in the stage here. As we look, you can see the rear end of Gitter's car just squatted down against the asphalt. These guys are hauling the mail here with 3 to go in Stage 2.
And that's one thing those boys over at Team Conti know how to do, is build setups. Michael Conti, one of the biggest names in the E-Coke series. That boy knows setups better than anybody, and these cars are dialed in right now.
It's funny that you should say Michael Conti. So there's another Michael Conti that is pseudo-famous, if you will, at least in his circle of people. The first time I heard somebody mention Michael Conti here in iRacing, my brain kind of short-circuited. I thought to myself, that name's familiar. I don't understand why I remember it. And I thought, I don't know. And then I was watching a video on YouTube, and had recently been for a tour at the Wanamaker organ at Macy's here in Philadelphia, where a man named Michael Conti is the house organist at Macy's in Philadelphia. They have, it's the world's largest fully functional organ. And of course, its partner is down in Atlantic City at Boardwalk Hall. But anyway, they talked about Michael Conti being, this great organist. So I never put two and two together until just a couple of days ago when I saw this video. I'm like, oh my God, I doubt that it's him. I mean, obviously I know it's not him. There's a really long walk to take between an organist and a race setup builder.
Yeah, true.
But it was just one of those where I had to laugh because I thought that's why the name's familiar. They just happen to have the same name.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of a long walk and a 200-mile drive between it all, so.
Very true. As the caution flag flies here at the end of stage one, the end of stage two, Chris Davis captures the green and white checkered flag. He's followed by Bennett Allen, Patrick Gitter, Bobby Anderson, Matt DiCiani, Nolan Hodgson, Ryan Samuelson, Chad Sander, Sean Rogers, and Michael Witt. As everybody's going to let the cars cool down. It's been a little while since our last caution flag, so gives your shoulders a chance, gives your elbows a little bit of time to rest on the old armrest on the chair. That's for sure. As now we've got nothing to do but look at the 100 laps to stage 3.
Yeah, well, for me, caution comes out. The first thing I'm doing, I'm a lot like Rusty Wallace when I'm driving. I'll shake the arm under caution. I'll, flex the shoulders out a little bit just to keep loose. And this is the perfect opportunity when you come down pit road. Just make sure you don't cramp your foot up. Unfortunately, I've actually had that happen a few times coming on pit road. But it's a good way just to get your blood back flowing. I can't talk today. And just kind of keep yourself mentally loose because you still got the 100 laps to figure out who's going to win this thing.
Well, that's the truth. You certainly never lied. As we're going to look for Chris Davis here from the CSS stable. And we'll just keep our mouths shut for a moment as we want him to get into his pit box. Nobody wants to be the cause of somebody screwing up their pit entry.
It's hard enough to do it on our own.
Very true, as we see Chris Davis slide into the number 74's pit box. Hey, Chris, it's Dave and Shane up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, great finish here, obviously, to the end of stage 2. You and Bennett were really starting to gap 3 and 4. What was going on, and were you guys working together, or what came together so that you could be gapping by nearly 2.5 seconds?
Really wasn't just working together, but my plan was to help push him out there. I knew Patrick was going to be coming back for the field, so I really just wanted to push him out there as far as big of a lead as we could get, just so when I did pass him, I had that little bit of a buffer. When you get side by side with these cars, it just slows it down so much. So seeing 3rd and 4th side by side for so many laps, I just want to get away.
Yeah, sometimes the safest place to be is far away from everybody else, especially when we've had now 5 cautions for cause here. Now, with stage 3 being all but 100 laps, what's going to be the strategy? What's going to be going through your mind? Is this going to be, a two-stop stage or a 3-stop stage?
I'm really not sure yet. We'll decide that as the race goes on. Cautions play such a big factor in that. So I caught lucky caution staying out, and hated for Chris' squad whenever he spun getting on the pit road there, but it really worked in my favor. So we'll see what happens on this next run, and till then I'm just gonna hang out and ride around.
Obviously, the voice of somebody who knows how to get it done here at Kansas Speedway. I know that you've got a lot on your plate dealing with all of this, but listen, good luck the rest of the way, my man, and maybe we're going to see you here in Victory Lane or on the podium.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, sir. As we go on back outside the 74 of Chris Davis, we want to take another quick chat here, see if we can get a hold of Nolan Hodgson. Let's see where. First, I got to get Davis back up here in the CSS. All kinds of clicking going on here with the old mouse. Let's see if we can find him. And of course, I can't find Nolan Hodgson. Why not? But let's get a hold of Bobby Anderson out of Dirty South Racing. Hey, Bobby, it's Dave and Shane up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, you're going to be restarting P2 this time around. I mean, take us through that last stage. You were being gapped pretty hard by the top two. What's going to be going through your mind?
Yeah, so I've had quite the eventful night. I was in that big wreck early in the first stage, so I got all the damage fixed, and it feels okay. I just feel a little off on the short run, so I'll probably try and save tires here a little bit and see if I can get something working on the long run.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these cars, a lot of these drivers are all set up for the long run, so obviously the short run's not going to be beneficial to you. Did you make any adjustments to the 18, or did you just leave it as is?
Just left it as is and fixed the damage. I don't know how it drives yet clean.
One of those situations where it's stand back, girls, I don't know what this thing's going to do.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Well, listen, congratulations on restarting here on P2. The iRacing.com pace car lights are out, so we're going to get you back into your Discord chat. Good luck, bro.
Thanks. Have a good broadcast, guys.
Always, as we're going to move Bobby on back up into the Dirty South Racing stable. If I can find it, there it is. Shane, take us back to green.
Well, with absolute pleasure, we got ourselves Gitter and Bobby up on the front row. Pace car's made the hard left-hand turn. Barney the flagman's been a little on the busy side tonight, but he's got the green flag waving one more time. We're back green, and Gitter's gone. Gitter has got himself gone from everybody. We got ourselves a couple of strong battles back here. It looks like we got ourselves, I'm trying to find this myself. We got Hodgson and the 18 going side by side for third. And I think they're still trying to get that settled out as most of the field is 2-3 wide behind them. Gitter has checked out with, it looks like DiCerini behind him. And DiCiani behind him, excuse me. I've been butchering that name all night, and I'm partially Italian. Please, don't hate me, people.
Yeah, his last name ends in a vowel. You don't want to screw that one up.
Yeah, like I said, I'm partially Italian. I ought to know how to pronounce this.
It's kind of like if I couldn't pronounce a German name. I understand, and I'm sure you're forgiven, but if you wake up tomorrow with a horse head in your bed, you know why.
I'm supposed to be the one leaving the horse heads. They all call me the Dawn, remember?
Yeah, that's what it is. You're more like Fredo.
Oh!
Oh, there it is! We'll call you Fredo from now on.
Ow! Oh,
that's how you wind up in the booth with me?
Oh, that hurts. Ow!
To be fair, another person who was once referred to as Fredo was also Chris Cuomo, and he's one handsome son of a gun over there on News Nation or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, true.
That was, and you know what? Fredo was a term of endearment given to Chris Cuomo by the great one at the golden microphone of the EIB network once upon a time. So really, you just got called Fredo by a dedicated and an esteemed graduate of the Limbaugh Conservative University.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Why not?
EIB University for Advanced Conservative Studies is alive and well here in the Tony Trapazza Memorial Broadcast booth. Another thing that's alive and well is the competition between Seba Cornez and Patrick Gitter, as Seba is taking a wild line here on the high side. All of a sudden, he has decided he wants to score more. Bobby Anderson slides back into fourth position. Seba Cornez just shot all the way here to the lead. The question is, did he shoot his load too early, or is he going to have to save a little for the end?
Oh, I don't have anything for you. I got nothing.
Welcome to Sunday Night NASCAR. You thought it was bad on Thursday nights. This is my booth.
Yeah, and I'm just living in it for the night.
Well, of course, the one thing that's not living is all of a sudden another connection issue here. Of course, I'm watching. I've got the radar running on another screen, trying to figure the system out and what the issue is. As I see a lot of tire smoke. I almost need a dump button to go to the high home camera.
Well, I didn't see anything on my end for tire smoke, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but it's
I tell you right now, what's smoking is that 59 car, because he came out of nowhere on that top line to take the lead, but he's starting to get a little bit of company with Hodgson in that 12.
Taking a look here at Seba Cornez, who now leads Nolan Hodgson. Hodgson takes the low side. Let's take a ride here with him. As we ride here on lap 179, Hodgson's going to slide up here against the wall from Lamar's, Iowa. He dives to the inside. He has that car all kinds of wide open coming out of turns 3 and 4. I got to be honest, listening to those RPMs coming out of 3 and 4, I don't know what he thinks he has for Seba, but right now it's just this side of nothing.
He's trying to turn this thing loose at 9,000 RPM. I noticed he was banging 9,000 going into these corners. He's not shifting. He's leaving this car in 4th gear the entire way around. It's almost like he's using 5th as like an overdrive.
Yeah, trying to save fuel and whatnot because, in NASCAR we're very concerned about going green. Of course, the only green that we want to see is the flag.
True.
Can you imagine if they made all of these V6s? Or worse, V6 hybrids?
Oh. Don't scare me, dude.
And holy crap, there they go. Here goes Chad Sander through the infield. We're just going to go right on up here. Chad Sander just got turned and somehow manages to survive. Hey. I feel like that was a work of art if I ever saw one.
Well, you only get one chance to save these cars, and he had his one chance, that's for sure.
Seba Cornez leading the way here atop the pile. He's got Nolan Hodgson and Patrick Gitter in tow behind him. Bennett Allen running in 5th position right now. They are all kinds of tight, almost as tight as a snare drum, moving through here on lap 183. And I got to be honest, looking at this from where we stand right now, this might be where the winner comes from. It may not be Seba Cornez at the end, who now gaps Nolan Hodgson by 1/4 of a second.
No, I really don't think it will be either, because I honestly think he's wearing his tires out as hard as he came up through the field to begin with. So unless the pit stops and the cautions fall his way, I don't see Seba pulling off the win here tonight.
Well, here's the thing. Cornez, as we pull up that driver info, Cornez is riding that high line. He's really not putting a whole lot of stress on the right sides. And as we go riding along with him, he's able to burp it. He's not really that loose coming out of turn 4, which is something that we see, and he's not even taking the apron. In fact, let's listen here. He's even able to burp the throttle and stay up here on the high line. It's almost like he's just running warm-up laps for a qualifier. He's saving something.
And the other thing is he's in 5th gear. Everyone else is running 4th. I've been flipping between Seba and Nolan as we're under caution. You can definitely hear the motor note changes between the two cars.
I don't know what just happened, but I believe something wrong on the racetrack. I don't see smoke. I don't see fire as we bounce through the standings here. Not sure where it's coming from. Could be somewhere around Richard Pruitt. Let's take a peek. Looks like Andrew Deemer. Here's Richard Pruitt as he has just suddenly jumped to pit road. Let's take a look. And not from him, as he wasn't even in the car. So I have no idea, folks, what might have brought that caution out. And I don't hear anything from race control as Seba Cornez gets ready to bring the field down pit road.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it myself, and even I don't know what's going on. I'm looking through everything myself, and I don't have the slightest.
As they all come down pit road, we see everybody pulling into their pit boxes from high above everything else. Alexander Gangler, doing Alexander Gangler things, is going to stay out behind the iRacing.com pace car and lead a lap here. And I've seen him pull this move before, and it usually doesn't work out for him. But this is where Gangler tries to get that extra little point there for leading. And he does it successfully, but my goodness, when the green flag flies, it's going to be time for him to get in line and be served lunch.
Yeah, he's going to be served a whole lot of lunches because he's about to get eaten up by a lot of stronger cars.
It's a man-eater. Too soon?
Oh, wow.
This is why you should be glad that I have a day job and I can't come on your show. You'd never get through a topic in the rundown.
There have been times in the show I've been laughing for 15 minutes straight thanks to everyone else we've had on, so trust me, I'm used to it.
Working lap 187 of 267, so 80 to go here. I got to be honest, even with 80 to go, it doesn't feel like this race has been dragging on, which we've seen happen in this league when bad things start to, when the caution flag bug really starts to bite into your heels. It seems like this race has really kept a good pace. It gives everybody just enough time to reload on the tires, get that fuel cell packed full of fuel, and it keeps the competition moving. We've had some really good green flag runs.
Yeah, it seems like it's come at just the right time to give everybody a nice little reset, kind of stretch out, get themselves refocused, and then come at it again for another strong 30, 40, possibly 50 laps until the next one hits.
Alexander Gangler going to be your race leader when we go back green flag racing. He'll be followed by Nolan Hodgson, Patrick Gitter, Matt DiCiani, Bennett Allen, Paul Hill, Randy Belk, Neil Pearson, Bobby Anderson, and Ryan Samuelson. And, oh, hell, we'll just call it Alexander Gangler and the Angry Hornets behind him.
Really? Wow, it's going to be that type of night tonight. Okay, I'm with you. Oh. Wow.
Alexander Gangler and Nolan Hodgson going to go side by side as Matt Gaskins takes the 79 Fireball Whiskey Ford Mustang around to get back in line as he's going to get the free pass. Gaskins has been duking it out now with so many other drivers as he's going to get the free pass this time around and go from 5 to 4 laps down. I realize that doesn't seem like a lot, but for somebody who's been that many laps down, that's just kind of, vindication for a little while of patience.
Yeah, and something tells me when this race is over, he's going to look to the sponsor and be like, I'm going to need a couple of these after this.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your choice of whiskey, why not?
I know there's much better ones out there, but yet again, look what he's driving.
I'll tell you, well, that's fair. It's a Ford.
Yep.
I'll tell you this, though. I got into the Captain Morgan Long Island Iced Tea. It's like a pre-mixed jug for $20 at the liquor store. Let me tell you, that is a way to get through a long race that turns into a caution festival.
Oh, sounds like we're going to need a couple of those the way some of these nights go.
I just put it in with an IV. It's fine. Alexander Gangler hits the Geico restart zone. We're back underway here on lap 190. The field blinks, but Gangler doesn't as he takes off now with Nolan Hodgson in tow.
Yeah, looks like Hodgson's got those 4 tires. He's just letting them come up before starting the attack here. And that 21 car is back on the attack as well, so it doesn't surprise me to see quite possibly some changes coming in this front three.
Nolan Hodgson running P2 behind Alexander Gangler. We're going to ride along with him as we see Hodgson now taking that same line that Seba was at the end of that last segment, as Seba Cornez all the way back to 23rd now after that pit cycle. So not sure what caused him to slide back so far, but Seba Cornez has been flirting with the lead multiple times tonight, now running back in 23rd. Nolan Hodgson, though, from Lamar's, Iowa, rolls out of turn 4 with Alexander Gangler in the crosshairs, and Gangler holding his own up here, running his race. And I mean, you know, as somebody who, the former driver of the 8 car myself, this is a nice sight to see as we take a look from the blimp cam at Alexander Gangler now gapping Nolan Hodgson by nearly 0.3 of a second.
Anytime you're on old tires and you can see everyone else in your mirror struggling to try to get to you, it's always a welcome sight.
Well, and of course, he's got Trish's Hope there on the side of that machine, and we want to make sure that we do tip our cap to Trish's Hope, as Trish's Hope believes in healthcare and support for all persons. Their mission is to provide emotional and financial support to cancer patients in treatment. Trish's Hope holds a special place in our hearts here at Sim Racing Media and in the Sunday Night NASCAR Family of Racing series, as they have been part of the supporting framework around Brian Tarnowski and his late wife Stacy, for whom this league is named. They've been with Brian and Stacy throughout their journey and now beyond. And to support Trish's Hope, please visit trishashope.com/give-help today, because tomorrow might not be soon enough. As Alexander Gangler may not be looking soon enough here, as Nolan Hodgson just went from 0.3 of a second behind him to now less than 0.2 as he looks to the outside to make the pass.
Yeah, he closed up so fast on that 8 car, he actually had to jump on the brakes, and I still think he got a piece of him going into turn 1, because that 8 car was all sorts of sideways going in.
Alexander Gangler, our race leader. When we come back, we'll see if Nolan Hodgson can overtake him, as he and Matt DiCiani work him over here on lap 195. I'm Dave Regal, he's Shane Lake, and this is Sunday Night NASCAR.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. The detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
So hi, my name's Christy. I am a wife, a mother of 3 children. I am a sister and an aunt of lots of nieces and nephews, and I'm also a substitute teacher. So my everyday life changed by going to appointments, a lot of appointments, a lot of scans. As like during the treatment, my body just got weaker, so I wasn't as active with my children and with my husband. So I was laying on the couch a lot more. I'm an active person, and so that just didn't sit well with me, but that's how it changed. My body was just weaker, and I couldn't do the things that I used to do. So there was a lady in where I live from a local church who had heard that I had breast cancer, and she sent me a letter just reaching out for support, and she actually said that she's the one that told me about Trisha's Hope and that I should contact them, so I did. So specifically, I wasn't able to really work during my treatment or anything like that, so the grant that I was able to get helped me pay my bills, provide gas money. I was driving to and from treatments, and so it helped a lot with bills and everything. I would just say I am so grateful for Trisha's Hope and for all the people that have donated, because I don't know what I would have done without them.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom. Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh,
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage pressure on Challenger. Aphrodite is ahead. It's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway, where we're under caution once again as we were off air trying to, unfortunately you folks could see it at home, and I apologize for that break in the action there. But we're desperately trying to get things right this time around, as it looks like we've had quite a mess here, as we're going to see what happened with Steve Herring as we go on back. And we can't. That's cool. All kinds of a mess, kind of a big one here. That'll thin the field out, that's for sure. Dave Regal and Shane Lake with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, just about 60 laps away from the checkered flag.
Yeah, that last caution, the 33 and the 80, just tangled down the back straightaway. I don't know what that was about, whether it was a mistimed crossover or what have you, but it definitely is going to thin the field out just a little bit more. As I believe we are going to be getting ready to come to a restart this time by.
You'll have to forgive us, folks, as the iRacing.com simulator has decided that it wants to stay up there for reasons I can't quite understand. At least the window frame. That's always fun. Why not?
Oh, you know, iRacing always has its little quirks.
Yeah, well, how comes it always does it on a Sunday night?
Because it knows it's getting exposure? I don't know.
It's entirely possible. Nobody likes to be exposed on a Sunday. You're not Catholic, are you?
Nope. Nice, dude. Nice.
Nolan Hodgson, Matt DiCiani, Dalton Mobley, Paul Hill, Patrick Gitter, Randy Belk, Ryan Samuelson, Chad Sanders, Seba Cornez, and Matt Mackin. Correction, Jeff Carson and Matt Mackin going to round out your top 10. As we see, Seba Cornez has now crawled his way back up here in 9th position. Now remember, a moment ago he was back in 23rd. Now he runs here in 9th. Now, folks, I want to apologize for you to be able to see the iRacing.com simulator banner across the top of the screen. That's not intentional, but right now we're just trying to correct the sins of the father here, as for whatever reason the CPU does not want to operate properly. As Nolan Hodgson takes the green flag this time by, he's got Dalton Mobley in tow as we go back green flag racing here at Kansas.
Yeah, looks like Nolan took off like a little extra boost in that corn, because that car is flying right now.
Oh. Patrick Gitter here on the high side trying to lead the charge as they've found some kind of speed up there. My Goodness gracious, this is frustrating.
Yeah, I think some of those guys are starting to get that high line dialed in. With the dynamic groove that iRacing does have, they're starting to pick up a little bit extra speed rolling that top line as we got ourselves a battle up front here.
We're going to keep it up front as Matt DeCiani just served lunch to Nolan Hodgson. He gets on by, I don't know if your school had them, but we used to have these things called peanut butter balls. They were delicious. And right now, that's exactly what DeCiani thought as he drove past Nolan Hodgson. Delicious.
Yeah, fresh air will be delicious on these cars, but I think Nolan's like, nah, dude, I'm going to take your lunch money because he's looking to try to strike back.
Matt DeCiani leading the way now with Patrick Gitter in tow as we work lap number 208 of 167. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight as we work deep here into stage number 3. And quite frankly, folks, this is the time in every week where we start to see whether or not the men are men or if the goats are scared.
There's a joke about goats and kids in there somewhere. I'm just not sure how to make it without sounding like a complete idiot, so I don't know.
It's a whole thing, trust me. I grew up in farm country. We know them all. You know where I came from? Do you know how to spell farm?
No.
I came from Pennsylvania Dutch country before I moved just outside the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. And we spell farm E-I-E-I-O. Because old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. I can't even take credit for that one. That one goes to the great one, my old man.
I can't say much. When here in Maine, one of the towns I grew up in, we literally had a farm that was like right on the corner of the street. And our house was maybe 4 houses away from that farm. And I swear to God, in the summertime, you did not want to have the windows open.
See, no, that doesn't bother me. To me, that just smells like home. If I was asleep, no, if I was like a hostage in the back of a windowless van with a blindfold on, if somebody had the window open to smoke and I could smell cow manure, I'd probably be able to tell you where we were within about 5 miles.
Yeah, this wasn't just cow. The smell of the chicken was even worse.
Hey, nearly making contact is the 6 into the rear end of the 81. They bump one another down the backstretch and into turn number 3. Paul Hill looking to get deeper here toward the top 5. Matt DeCiani, our race leader, Patrick Gitter running in P2. And a battle is raging back here with Chad Sander. In fact, the battle rages harder than a teenager's hormones on prom night.
It is prom season after all.
Yes, make sure to remember the corsage. You want to make sure that you're classy.
Oh, yeah, we'll go with that.
You've heard the joke about the farmer. The farmer comes home with a pig under his arm, and he walks into the bedroom, and he says to he says as he walks into the bedroom, his wife's laying there in bed as he opens up the door, and he says, "See, I wanted to show you the pig that I've been sleeping with." And she said, "Why are you bringing that pig in here?" He said, "Shh, shh, I was talking to the pig."
Oh my God! Wow. I don't even know where to go from here with this.
Matt DeCiani, I'll tell you where to go with it. Matt DeCiani here atop the race lead. He's got Patrick Gitter and Dalton Mobley in tow. 1, 2, 3 they go, and then 1.2 seconds back to Nolan Hodgson. So it's getting pretty strung out here. I wouldn't say as strung out as we saw on Thursday night in a certain situation, but wow, as Hodgson dives down the racetrack, he almost cuts the nose off of Randy Belk. They said to fire a warning shot across her nose, not up it.
Yeah, that's a shot across the bow. You don't want to rip it off.
Randy Belk, though, making sure that he keeps his composure, and he's in one of those Team Conti Chevrolets, and again, the Team Conti Chevrolets that are here on the racetrack tonight are really good drivers. I mean, Patrick Gitter, these top 4, they're all out there to try to make a name for themselves here on the SNN circuit. And at this point, Ryan Samuelson, who's probably, as I'm looking at this list up here, Ryan Samuelson and Dalton Mobley have the most experience in this league, and they run here in the top 6 as Samuelson nearly bump drafts Randy Belk into turn 3. That's quite a move, and, definitely some discipline coming out of Samuelson's nose.
Yeah, because you want to make sure you don't send them in so hard they wreck, or send them in too soft that they end up checking you up in the process.
Do you know what an Amish 4-way signal is?
What's that?
You light the candle, you blow it out. You light the candle, you blow it out. They are an absolutely green society, if you will. No worries for the federal government there. Chad Sander running the 94 just behind Sean Rogers and Bennett Allen. And, for Chad Sander to be up here in the top 10, a lot of these drivers who are up here in the top 10 have crazy plus numbers from where they begun this race. Randy Belk is up 24. Samuelson is up 28, running in 6th position right now. So he comes from 34th position. And now Chad Sander all but pushing Sean Rogers past Bennett Allen here, as Bennett Allen stays in the top 10. But don't look now, as we look out the rear bumper of Bennett Allen, we're going to see there he is, Seba Cornez from Uruguay, getting ready to make the move.
And he's hanging around that top groove where he's been pretty much this entire race, so he's beyond comfortable up there. He's going to make that work come hell or high water, try to get back up to the front.
High water indeed, as it seems like, yes, the CPU problem has finally calmed itself down as these drivers have gotten themselves separated out a little bit here. The 81 of Ryan Samuelson now drafting up behind the 50 of Randy Belk. Belk trying to get underneath Nolan Hodgson and work his way by, as Hodgson out of Lamar's, Iowa, looks for a way to get around this place, this 1.5 mile speedway just outside of Kansas City, Kansas / Missouri. I gotta wonder, I realize that the Chiefs and the Royals play on the Missouri side, but for some reason they keep the racing side in Kansas. Is there something with that?
I'm a little curious about that myself. I mean, is there a tax reason for it, or did they just not want to have a track in Missouri? Well, you got to figure, you got worldwide technology in the St. Louis area, so maybe they decided to keep this track over here to keep them separated.
Maybe they wanted to keep the rednecks west.
If they wanted to do that, they wouldn't have had the football team as close as they do.
The football team did come from slightly further west as they moved from Dallas to Kansas City.
True.
The original Texans, if you will.
There's so many original teams that ended up somewhere else, we lose track of the history of it all.
Well, if anybody takes care of the history, we talked about it on Thursday night, we'll talk about it again here. If there's any group or organization that takes care of its history, it's NASCAR. And I mean, we've been able to talk about, of course, the Intimidator, Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, and we remember those names now 20 and 30 years later because NASCAR takes such good care of their history.
Yeah, and not just guys like Earnhardt and Waltrip, Gordon, Rusty Wallace, guys like that, but even further back, the Flock brothers, Cale Yarborough, David Pearson, Junior Johnson when he was driving, guys like that. And it's all because of how NASCAR protects its own history. I mean, for the longest time, they didn't have the Hall of Fame. Now here we have it, 14 years later, and look at all the names that are in it now.
Well, one of the names that, thanks to NASCAR's initiative, taking care of its history, building the Hall of Fame, and kind of curating a lot of the material that they've compiled over the last 76 years, is I learned a lot about the Wood brothers. And I mean, I may not be a motorcraft guy, but I'll tell you what, the Wood brothers were absolutely on the cutting edge of some of the technology that we still use today as far as aero testing and tuning goes on these engines.
And not just that, but they revolutionized the pit stops to the point that they were used for both endurance racing by Ford and an Indy 500 car back in the, I think it was the early 70s.
Leonard Wood still goes to the racetrack almost every weekend.
That is impressive. And the fact of what he's able to do, he doesn't have any 100% legit schooling for what he does. This all just comes out of his twisted mind, and somehow he's able to make it work time and time again. That's innovation at its finest.
Well, you know, and I think that that's one of the things that I've always found, and maybe that's why I've always identified very well with, you know, some of the earlier drivers and teams in this sport. Many of them were just like, yeah, I mean, quite literally, Ricky Bobby, I want to go fast, you know, because, look, some of them had no more than an 8th, 9th, or 10th grade education, yet were some of the greatest minds that this sport has ever seen. Now we've got, you know, people with engineering degrees and, you know, business, communications, the whole schmear, where guys like me who have a high school education but know how to use a wrench, you know, are kind of, oh, you can glue the lug nuts on the tires. We'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, I understand that completely because it's the way the sport has evolved. It used to be guys would have the backyard garages that would crank out a car that could win Talladega or Daytona or Darlington. Now you've got all these machines. You got all the people who know how to run sims. You got every bit of that. That's making what these cars are now. And in a way, it's hindering the sport because now they have to figure out how to make the product on track better without taking away from the car, you know, so much as to hurt the performance down the road.
Richard Petty did it, for crying out loud. 7 championships out of a small garage in North Carolina.
Yeah, and as far as I know, that small garage is actually now a historic monument that people can go visit as a museum.
It is, and you can still go down there, and Petty Enterprises still essentially operates out of a small garage. They don't have a huge facility, and even though that they've, you know, kind of combined with GMS, they've still managed to keep their identity as being a small family business.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, and I think that's kind of how Richard wanted it. Was, you know, they're celebrating 75 years in this sport, and this is how they've been doing it. As it looks like the 50 car is coming onto pit road with a problem, and flies down pit road.
The 14 and the 21 both come down pit road. They leave Dalton Mobley atop the pile. Paul Hill going to come behind him. So it looks like DeCiani and Patrick Gitter, Randy Belk in the 50. Those 3 drivers all coming down pit road with just about 35 laps to go. So this will be the money stop for them as they come on down. Dalton Mobley thinks he can hold it together for just a little while longer. As he rolls out of turn 4, he doesn't indicate that he'll be coming down pit road anytime soon, as he wants to go out here and lead some, as he now has 2.5 seconds of a lead, now longer, over Paul Hill. Paul Hill trying to tow around Sean Rogers and Nolan Hodgson. If I was Dalton Mobley, I wouldn't come. Whoa, a little wiggle out of the 44. That opens the door for the 12 to get on by. Hey.
That got interesting. As it looks like the 14 and the 21 are both indicating they're going to be coming down to pit road this time.
The 14 and the 21 are coming off of pit road. Dalton Mobley still leading this piece. Now, Paul Hill, Sean Rogers, Chris Custer, and Ron Fitting all come down pit road. Let's just bail up here.
I was watching the 50 when he came onto pit road. He's got to be serving a penalty for what happened with him. So, yeah, I think I caught the 14 and the 21 as they were coming off pit road.
Dalton Mobley leading the way right now as he crosses the start-finish line on 2:35. It looks like he wants to make this final run for himself as short as possible. So he either is banking on a late caution or he knows something that we all don't about his car. Unfortunately, we can't ask him at race speed, but Bennett Allen and Chad Sanner now switch up here to P3 and P4. Chad Sanner makes his way up here out of Smithfield, Pennsylvania. And as he rolls out of 4, he's still floating around here, but you can see the front end of this car starting to bob and weave a little bit.
Yeah, it tells me he's going to want to get some tires before long, because the front end of that car is not happy at all that it's screaming towards the end of this run.
Screaming it is as he hauls it down the back chute side by side with Bennett Allen. And they've got Seba Cornez just behind. Cornez came down on 186, Allen on 202. So Allen may think that he can hold this act together to get through the end, as our former race leaders are all off of pit road. That's the 14 and the 21. Dalton Mobley, though, wants to be the Pied Piper of Kansas right now, as we're 30 to go this time by.
Yeah, and watching this battle with Bennett Allen and Seba, they're not backing off anytime soon. They're both still going at it pretty hard, and Seba's still keeping that high lane. So he's definitely got something dialed up there.
If there's two drivers that I think would hold, you could lock in a room and wait to see which one comes out alive, it's going to be Bennett Allen and Seba Cornez. They're both fierce competitors. They've been doing this a long time with one another. And Bennett Allen, not even old enough to drink yet, still here challenging these grown men here on the racetrack.
Yeah, and sometimes that young fearlessness is what can be an advantage, but it can also be a deterrent late in a race, because there will be people that will take advantage of it.
Bennett Allen is good friends with a young man named Joseph Lester, who I've affectionately named as the Boy King. And these two drivers spend a lot of time together here in the sim. And, Joseph used to run in this league. He doesn't anymore. I wish he did, because he was a lot of fun to watch, especially when he and Bennett would start to run together. And, Bennett puts the time in. When it comes to practice, I don't think there's anybody who spends more time behind the wheel than Bennett Allen. As Dalton Mobley dives down pit road and cedes the lead over to Nolan Hodgson, with Chad Sanner about 1.2 seconds behind.
Yeah, and that 12 car is still looking like he's kind of conserving a little bit. And as I'm taking a look at this 94 GoPro Ford, he's rolling the bottom pretty well, but he doesn't look like he's got the same speed as everybody else.
No, he definitely doesn't. But for my money right now, the way that it stands, it just seems like this is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. It's just going to take too long to unlap yourself at this rate. And unfortunately, I think everyone who's come down pit road now is going to have to hope for a caution to try to get back up towards the front of this field.
Without a doubt, as we work lap 241, Nolan Hodgson, oh, I'm an idiot. Nolan Hodgson comes down pit road. I think I just freed up a lot of CPU space.
And how did you manage to do that?
It's a whole thing. It's behind the curtain kind of stuff, but now it's got to reconfigure itself.
Oh, for God's sake.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm a little neurotic. I like to push go and just start yammering.
I feel you. Trust me. I feel you.
Of course, I took the word yammering from probably in my opinion, one of the greatest podcasts, formerly radio broadcasters on Earth, Mr. Dan Lebitard out of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get the show?
I've heard of it.
Oh, but that means that you don't get the show.
No, I've watched it a few times when they've actually aired it on ESPN or whatever.
Well, he's no longer with ESPN. He actually left the mothership like everybody with a brainstem does.
Eventually.
There's only two people that I really miss on ESPN anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's KO and Dan Patrick.
Yeah, I hear you. Dan Patrick, he's off doing his own thing. I think NBC Sports had him for a while.
NBC Sports had him for quite a long time, and he was, of course, simulcasting the radio program from NBC Sports, and now he's even left that and still kind of doing his own thing. He is available on Peacock, I believe. But, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann were just a thing of beauty in the late 90s in the early 2000s. I mean, like, it was must-see TV to tune into the 11 o'clock Sports Center after a Phillies game during the summer, and it was one of my favorite things to watch at night.
Yeah, nowadays the 11 o'clock is Scott Van Pelt is on the 11, and nowadays the only real voice on ESPN that's typically unfiltered is Pat McAfee.
Yeah, they've really glommed on to Pat McAfee. They found the everyman, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, his show on YouTube was getting massive ratings, and so they brought him in, and he's now filling up their noon to 3 hour. So, I mean, honestly, and I don't know how Pat does all of what he does, whether he's been doing the college show for ESPN, he's got his own show 5 days a week. And let's not forget, on Monday nights, he flies out and does Monday Night Raw. So the man keeps himself busy.
Busier than a one-arm paper hanger.
And right now, speaking of keeping busy, I can see that 94 car is keeping busy, trying to keep everyone behind him. But these guys on fresh tires are eating him up, as it looks like we're coming down to just under 20 laps to go.
And with 20 laps to go, we're going to step aside real quick. You're going to see a quick screen of black. And when we come back, you should see a much more stable race production. Thank you for bearing with us, folks, as we're still clearing up a couple of things, but I think we may have broken the fourth wall, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Broken
a
the
little
fourth wall.
simulcast issue.
Broken the fourth wall. We damn well yeeted it.
That's fine. I would rather yeet it than eat it. I had to free up some CPU space, and I finally figured it out. Chad Sanner here running the 94. He's our race leader. He last came down on lap 186. Neil Pearson, Bennett Allen, Chris Davis, Eric Papineau, they're your top five. Chad Sanner is right now a sitting duck as he looks in the rearview mirror. Now, Ryan Samuelson running in 14th position. He's a lucky dog. So as soon as Chad Sanner dives out of the way, he should be able to try to get that lap back, as that's going to enable Samuelson to come on by. Now, the hard thing is Samuelson's then got 16 laps from that point until he can get on by. There he is, getting the lap back the old-fashioned way. The 29 of Tanner Marty coming along for the ride. And just like that, everything clears up on the race. Hey, we got ourselves a regular broadcast again.
How about that?
It only took 252 laps.
Better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah, well.
At least we're in the money period of all of this, and we can actually show off the finish of the race. Which looks like it's going to be a barn burner based off of pit strategy, although we do have a pass for the lead with Neil Pearson picking it up. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't this 58 have a whole crap ton of damage earlier in this race? Because I swear there was one time we focused on him, and the back bumper of that car was pretty much cleaned out.
It was, and, you know, even with that damage, he has battled his way back here. In fact, we've got a drone cam that can go right here in front of him, and you can see that all of that has been knocked back out where it's supposed to be. Even as he looks here, the 89 laps down, the lap car, the 89, there it is, as I can get all those words out of my mouth at once, now follows him as DeCiani and Gitter have connection issues. Chad Sanner down pit road, there he goes. Neil Pearson going to lead the way now, as he's about a second and a half ahead of Chris Davis in the 74. Bennett Allen about a second behind him. So Neil Pearson, your surprise winner, has just cycled his way, well, not winner, but surprise leader, has just cycled his way up here into the race lead ahead of Chris Davis by now 1.4 seconds. Look at Nolan Hodgson trapped a lap down.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because now it's going to take even longer to try to get things back, if at all, because this has a feel of finishing under a green flag right now from the way things are going.
The way these drivers are, I would have to, if I was a betting man, and I'm usually not, I would agree, as Nolan Hodgson and Seba Cornez have now gotten their laps back the old-fashioned way. They're getting around Neil Pearson, but Pearson really only has one concern, and that's Chris Davis, who has now closed that half-second gap and come in here to just under a second between himself and Neil Pearson.
Yeah, and right now there's nobody in front of that 74 car but the leader. The lap cars have all cycled around. I think Neil might be a sitting duck for this 74.
I think you may be right, as Chris Davis looks like he has turned on the afterburners in the beast mode Toyota Camry. The only Toyota Camry until you get all the way back here to Alexander Gangler, who's just wild and crazy ahead of Dalton Mobley by about 3.3 seconds. I can't see who. There we go. That's the 50. Riding along behind him, and that's Randy Belk, and he just lets Belk on by. He's still got 2.6 seconds back to Dalton Mobley, and Mobley is like a friggin' torpedo headed right for him.
Torpedo with the homing service turned on.
Every time I think of a torpedo, once again, to reference the 1960s Batman, I think about the 1966 movie where they're stuck to the buoy, and he goes, "Oh, I have this tool here that'll blow the torpedoes up. Oh no, the batteries are dead."
Typical
of all the
Batman.
things to go wrong, batteries.
I know, right? I mean,
if
go
only
figure.
he had a USB charger in 1966.
They wouldn't know what to do with the technologies. I saw somebody smoking coming onto pit road.
Smoke but no fire. That looked like it may have been Brian Tarnowski. Let's take a look here and see what happened. Oh, this would be nice if we can get a real replay out of this. Oh, there's Brian sideways. I'd say that did it for him.
Yeah, I'd say. And again, it's such a tricky entrance here at Kansas because it's just as you're getting ready to come out of turn 4. So you really got to get the thing slowed down, and it's an abrupt change between the banking and pit entry that it really can upset the car more than people think.
Neil Pearson still leading the way, 1.3 seconds ahead of Chris Davis now with 7 laps to go. If I'm Neil Pearson, my knuckles are whiter than that wall out there.
Oh, easily. He's got to be gripping that wheel extra hard, and he's got to be... I got a feeling he's a little bit smoother on the throttle than what he's been doing this entire race because he doesn't want to take any chances of letting that 74 car get close to him. So, I mean, we're getting ready to come up here. We got about 5 laps to go. The current gap is actually gotten extended to 1.5 seconds. So, he has definitely turned the wick back up. So, I think he's about ready to start going back into management mode just to keep that 74 behind him and save a little bit of tire just in case he needs it.
Yeah, he's back out to 1.6 seconds. Let's take a look here at the lap time deltas. And we can see that Davis is starting to run slightly slower now than Pearson, as we've now got 5 laps to go. And it's becoming ever so more clear that over the last 5 laps, Davis has actually been slower, as now that lead for Pearson has extended to 2 seconds.
Yeah, so I think, unfortunately, Davis might have used up what he had to try to get up to the front. But he's also now gone into management mode to keep Brennan Allen, that 15 car, behind him. And there's about a 3-second gap between those guys.
Neil Pearson, your race leader with 4 laps to go, leads Chris Davis and Bennett Allen. They'll be your podium, all things considered, unless something crazy happens to the 4-second gap between Bennett Allen and Matt DiCiani, your points leader. DiCiani and Gitter, who have been so dominant this season and lead the points, 1-2, buckle my shoe, they go. They wind up here 4th and 5th for the time being, Eric Papineau being timed in 6th. Michael Witt, Bobby Anderson, Dalton Mobley, and Sean Rogers, your top 10 for the time being. Neil Pearson, though, the story of the night, snuck his way up here after qualifying in 4th position and leads us now as he comes out of turn number 4 back onto the, out of turn number 2 onto the backstretch. Apparently I can't look at the turns and realize what they are. He dives it into turn number 3 with a 3-second gap over Chris Davis. He rolls it out of turn 4. He can see the start-finish line one more time here. The popsicle sticks go in the air. We're 2 to go.
After nearly 3 hours, I'd get confused on what turn we're in myself, so don't feel too bad. It's even worse at Bristol.
Yeah, 2 laps to go here as Neil Pearson has suddenly, as you just said, oh no.
Oh, no.
Tanner Marty just got himself all kinds of sideways. Let's take a look here and see what happened. Tanner Marty was down on the apron and goes sideways. What he was doing down there is beyond me as he just comes to a blissful rest. But it seems like he was just trying to stay out of the way of the race leaders in the waning laps here and got himself a little loose. That is the last thing that Neil Pearson wanted to see tonight as we get ready for NASCAR overtime.
If I was Neil, I would be punching my steering wheel right about now because this was in hand, and now he has to deal with at least one more restart.
Yeah, Neil Pearson just asked for the nearest puppy so he can drop kick it.
Just make sure it's a Chihuahua.
It's fine. Neil Pearson deciding to come down pit road along with Chris Davis and Bennett Allen. And almost everybody else. Hey, look at that, folks. They can come down pit road and we can see them now.
What is the 15 doing?
Just kidding. Maybe, well, I probably have to do a full restart to make that work 1,000% properly.
More than likely.
But Sean Rogers, now your race leader, last came down on 233. We're here on lap 268. Sean Rogers just positioned himself perfectly for bad things to happen, and here it is.
Yeah, because now everyone else behind him is going to have 4 feel-goods, and he is going to be stuck. Now, the only advantage is he's going to have somebody out there with him when Paul Hill, but I don't think the schoolyard is going to be ready for what's going to happen next.
A lot of voices on race radio saying they can't believe it. No kidding.
Trust me, we can't believe it either. We feel right now for Neil because all they had to do was get to the white flag and it would have been over, and he was so close.
Chris Custer coming down pit road. That's going to leave Rogers and Hill atop the pile with Pearson and Davis right behind them. Rogers and Hill are going to have to make 2 cars 6 cars wide.
And
battle each other for the win.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Folks,
I really.
Go ahead.
I was about to say I really don't think it's going to happen for these two.
Well, folks, this is going to trigger NASCAR overtime. What that means is that when the green flag flies, we will race around to the white flag. If a caution should fly between the time that the green flag flies and the white flag, we will go under caution, rack them, stack them, and do it all over again. If the white flag flies, or when the white flag flies more so, the next flag will end the race, whether that flag is yellow or checkered. So right now what Sean Rogers and Paul Hill are desperately hoping for is to get around there to the white flag and be able to battle it out, basically by taking their gloves off and just fighting one another back to checkers. What everybody else is hoping for is another caution flag so that they can try to, make another run at Rogers and Hill. So this is an interesting situation after 269 laps now here at the end of this race.
And I really don't think that Rogers and Hill are going to have anything because these guys on sticker tires are going to be able to to maneuver around them. I don't know if this strategy is going to work out best for them to stay inside the top 5, but a top 10 could be in the cards for these two cars.
The iRacing.com pace car lights are out, which means that we will be going back green flag racing this time by Rogers, Hill, Davis, Pearson, Gitter, DeCiani, your top 6. Eric Papineau going to be restarting in 7th alongside of Michael Witt. So a lot of big names, a lot of heavy hitters in this league getting ready to just take the gloves off and beat the bejesus out of one another. As Neil Pearson is going to look to regain the lead that he had, really patiently had just a moment ago as we get ready to come out of turn 4.
This is my first time doing an overtime finish here, so I'm just waiting for that iRacing pace car to make that hard left-hand turn. So is everybody else. Rogers and Hill on the front row on the old tires. Everyone else behind them's on 4 feel goods. It's NASCAR overtime, and we are at Kansas for it.
A checkup from the 74 has Matt DeCiani bumping into the rear bumper. They go all but 4 wide. The 58 making the move, shoving Paul Hill back behind into the 21. Chris Davis here in the 74 leading the way out of turn 2 down the back chute. Sean Rogers and Matt DeCiani in tow with Neil Pearson on fresh tires. This is suddenly going to be a battle for the ages here coming back to checkers. Neil Pearson chasing down Chris Davis. They each have fresh tires. Neil Pearson, though, he wants the win more than anything as they go side by side down into turn 1. The popsicle sticks are down. The white flag is in the air. We're racing back to checkers. Neil Pearson coming out of turn number 2 all of a sudden regains the lead that he had just a moment ago. Neil Pearson over top of Chris Davis has to hold off Matt DeCiani. He's got a battle on 2 fronts as DeCiani washes up the racetrack, nearly coming into Chris Davis. They bump, they grind, they get here toward the checkered flag. Neil Pearson wins it here at Kansas Speedway in the Stacy Strong Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series.
What a finish. I need a couple of stiff drinks after that. Wow.
I can't provide you a stiff drink. Never mind. Neil Pearson, Matt DeCiani, and Chris Davis all come across the start-finish line. 1, 2, 3. Neil Pearson found an extra gear in that 58 machine to come across and capture the checkered flag here at Kansas as we allow just a moment here for Neil Pearson out of Perth, Australia, to celebrate on the start-finish line. What a night it was.
That was insane for a finish as he parks it dead square on the start-finish line.
Going to be looking for our top 3. Neil Pearson being the first one that we need to get a hold of here. As we're going to grab Matt DeCiani and Chris Davis as well, get them into the waiting room. Well, first out of the gate tonight is going to be the great Neil Pearson, who battled his way up here to capture the checkered flag at Kansas. Hey, Neil, it's Dave and Shane up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I've got a copy.
Buddy, listen, great finish tonight. I mean, listen, you kind of snuck up here in the twilight of the race to gain the lead, and then all of a sudden, the caution comes out at what I felt was the worst possible time, and you found an extra gear in the 58. Wow, what a finish, man.
Oh, that was insane. Yeah, basically the first 3/4 of the race, I was fixing 6 minutes of damage from the first stage. So I got that done and car was good. And yeah, I knew a fuel number I had to run in that final 60 plus lap race run. And I just stuck to that fuel number and it was working for me. And oh man, I was not happy when the caution came out, though. That was not good.
Yeah, usually the leader of the race never wants to see the caution come out with, less than 3 laps to go. What kind of stress and what kind of pressure were you feeling from DeCiani and Davis?
Quite a bit. I was really surprised because going into one on the final lap, I think Chris lifted and I was not lifting. So he just came back to me and yeah, I got the run on him for that. And yeah, I was really surprised because I had the grip and yeah, I think he, we had the same tire strategy because he was doing the fuel run save as well. So I was very surprised.
Yeah, mash the pedal, Pearson. That's what your name's going to be moving forward here because you absolutely didn't lift. I mean, that takes nerves of steel, especially when you know everybody else around you is doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So just you got to do what you got to do. Don't do anything stupid and take yourself out on that final lap. But I knew I had the grip and the car was good, and man, I just got it turned, and yeah, it was great. I can't believe I won. Especially coming back from 6 minutes of damage. That was crazy. I was ready to throw in the towel, and I'm glad I didn't. And yeah, come through.
Yeah, Shane and I both had noted earlier in the race that you had damage on the front end while you were back there with the 66 of Chris Custer. And we thought, gee, you've got a little bit of damage. This might take some time. But hey, you stuck with it. You did the right thing, and you got it done here in Kansas. Before we cut you loose tonight, who do you need to tip your cap to, and who helps you get it done here on the 58 team?
Just my teammates, Bobby and Matt. They're really cool dudes. Ryko for the setups. And my Aussie teammates, Andrew Dyson and a few other guys over there, all the support and stuff is great. And, my wife too, she supports me doing this. So, yeah, and you guys for the broadcast and Sunday Night NASCAR for the really good race series.
Now, I got to ask you, because I know that you're, obviously an Aussie. Are you there now or are you here in the States?
I'm in Australia. It's 10:34 in the morning. On a Monday morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I have to get up at like 6:20 in the morning to get these races.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. That's awesome. Well, listen, congratulations on the checkered flag. That starts your Monday off pretty well. So hopefully the rest of the week goes the same way for you.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, it's a good start to the week, that's for sure.
All right, my friend. Listen, thank you very much as we're going to move him back on down here. Neil Pearson, your race winner tonight, comes across the line first after battling it out with Matt DeCiani and Chris Davis. And next, I believe Shane, that you should have Matt DeCiani with you.
I think we do. Hey, Matt DeCiani, it's Shane and Dave up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Man, you had a strong car here towards the end of this race, but came up just a little bit short. What was going through your mind as this race was carrying on, especially in that last segment? Because you had it going early on. It just seemed like it kind of faltered midway through and then came back towards the end.
Yeah, well, me and Pat got screwed by that caution in stage 2. We had just pitted, the yellow came out, so we were trying to flap down, so we lost all that track position, but we got ourselves back up there. Then, I don't know, when that 67 to go, that caution, we're like, we can probably make it on fuel, but the way the races have gone this year, we're like, we'll probably get a yellow here in the next 10, 15 laps. But we didn't, and so we had a plan to, pit with, I don't know, with 36, 37 to go. That was our shot at that point because we weren't going to make it on gas. But, yeah, kind of disappointing. Felt like me and Pat had the best cars here tonight. And, yeah, we did what we could, but we were just on the wrong side of the strategy there.
Yeah, you guys were definitely clawing your way up through the field. Unfortunately, as you said, the cautions didn't exactly fall right. Did you have anything for the 58 car at the end, or was he just that strong?
I mean, if I could have lined up next to Neil, like been on his outside or inside, I think maybe. But, I mean, I was a row or two back, and then getting through the two guys that stayed out, it's just not exactly, not 2 laps, it's so hard. I would have needed everything to be perfect. But, yeah, just Neil played the strategy right, had the track position, and congrats to him.
Well, before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank for everything going on tonight?
Yeah, shout out Team Conti, Pat, Randy. Randy had a really strong run before he had an issue. Yeah, Martin PC, you guys for calling the race, and Chris for putting on the league. And congrats to Chris on his third place finish.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on that second place finish. Enjoy this one, and we'll see you next time around.
All right, sounds good. Have a good night.
Yep.
And last but certainly not least here on the podium tonight, Chris Davis, driver of the number 74 Toyota Camry from Koshkonong, Missouri. Hey, Chris, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
What a finish tonight. I mean, you know, when the NASCAR overtime gets triggered, I mean, everybody gets a little nervous, everybody gets a little shaky, but you managed to keep your brain between your ears and the wheels pointed in the right direction. Take us through these last few laps and how you wind up here on the podium.
Yeah, I knew once Sean chose the outside for that restart that I was going to be able to get a good jump and hopefully clear him into one, and ended up getting that way. And I was like, well, if I can just get to the white flag, hopefully we'll be able to bring it around one more time. And looked up and saw Neil in my mirror, and then I saw Matt coming behind him, so I kind of lifted a little bit into one so I didn't push up, and it just killed all my momentum. So unfortunate, but, you know, I cannot complain with the third place finish after the few races I've had this season. So just trying to be consistent, keep the points up, and but this was a really good race for me.
A good race for sure. I mean, you know, you wind up starting, you know, back in 13th. You climb up 10 positions, and, you know, sometimes at a place like this, we kind of get ahead of ourselves thinking, oh, it's Kansas, it's not that bad. But, man, when you start your night off with, you know, 39 drivers, 40 drivers, I mean, it gets out of control real fast. All of the traffic that you had to come through tonight, the green flag pit stops, the caution flag pit stops, I mean, it all seemed to come together. Did you have a strategy that kept changing, or were you kind of the same from lap one?
I was pretty consistent from lap one. The only thing is right after that third stage or second stage, I got a little bit of damage from a wreck, so that kind of changed things up a little bit, and just started going into fuel saving once I knew we were going to be able to make it. And you know, Neil, he took off on me, and I was still trying to save a little bit, and then that caution come out, so I knew it was a 2-tire stop from there, and just come up short.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congrats on the P3 finish. Before we cut you loose, though, who do you need to tip your helmet to, and who helps you get it done here on the 74?
I got to thank Ram for coming on as a sponsor. Had them for about 2 weeks. Beast Mode Performance. They put together a lot of stuff for us. And Carson Speed Shop, if you haven't looked him up on Discord, look him up. He's got a ton of free sets. They're very competitive. And that's about it.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, we will see you next week. Thank you very much for the time. Congrats, and go ahead and celebrate with the team.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys.
Well, my friend, another night has come to a close here in the SNN Cup Series. You got to join me here in my favorite booth to sit in because, you know, this is the last place that Tony Trapasso sat for a race. So this is a very special place. This is home for me, my home league. And these guys have just put on another great show for us here on Sim Racing Media.
Yeah, it was definitely a thrill to slide in. You know, I didn't have anything really else going on tonight, so when I got the call to slide in here, I was actually excited for it, and it was definitely not a disappointment. This was a thrilling race from start to finish.
Yeah, these guys always know how to get it done here. I mean, you know, I get it that sometimes it gets a little dicey, so to speak, but at the same time, you know, I know that we can at least, you know, make something happen here moving forward.
Oh, yeah, easily. And there's a lot of great talent in this league, and I got a feeling the rest of this season is going to be just as electric as this race was.
Absolutely. All right, Shane. Well, listen, before we get out of here, we want to take one final look at our results here. From Kansas Speedway, Neil Pearson brings home the checkered flag. He's followed on the podium by Matt DiCiani and Chris Davis. Patrick Gitter and Michael Witt finish 4th and 5th, rounding out your top 5, while Sean Rogers, Dalton Mobley, Bobby Anderson, Nolan Hodgson, and Eric Papineau round out your top 10. Ryan Samuelson and Paul Hill finish 11th and 12th. Oh, there they go. As Chris Custer and Chad Sander finished 13th and 14th, Matt Mackin and Bennett Allen finished 15th and 16th, while Jeff Carson finishes 17th. Ron Fitting brings home 18th, with Alexander Gangler and Steve Herring making up your top 20.
Yeah, Dylan Banks, 21st. Saba, bear in mind, I'm still trying to learn all these names. Saba ended up coming home 22nd. Keith Long coming home 23rd. John Wilkes came home 24th. Chris Cloud 25th. Tanner Marty 26th. Matthew Gaskins 27th. Rich Jett 28th. Brian Tarnowski 29th. And Randy Bulk 30th.
And the best of the rest, Mark Johnston finishes in 31st, Ken Ron 32nd, Richard Pruitt 33rd, Andrew Deemer and Matt Long finished 34th and 35th, while Kavaja Holt, Josh Berry, Michael Caffrey, Cody McCorkle, and Randall Watkins, Mr. 305, finish out your field out of all 40 drivers tonight who started here at Kansas Speedway. So for myself, Dave Regal and Shane Lake here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, we want to say thanks for listening, thanks for tuning in, and thank you, as always, from the bottom of our hearts for making us a part of your evening. And tomorrow, as you go and walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody. And we're clear. I can't believe...